Evening all. How are we? I'm going to spend some time in a minute paying you some attention because you know you've been undervalued as a lovely chat. But FPL last resort here. I'm back as usual with Danny. No guests this evening. We're quite happy by ourselves tonight. We're avoiding the party and just having a quiet romantic dinner date this evening for game week 7. Danny, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. Very good. I just want to. I didn't say this to you actually, but I just got to shout out my friends at FPL Wire, LR, and Zoff and Praz. Thank you for sending me the Sir Christopher Wood T-shirt all the way from India.
There we are. For those listening, Danny has an "I've Got Wood" T-shirt, which, by the way, is no small feat at our age. You know, it takes a bit more concentration than it used to, but the result is still there anyway. But yeah, thank you very much. That's a lovely T-shirt, and was that beer man?
Yeah, I've got the coasters as well. So
what are they made of? They're not.
No, I was going to say above average. You're going to have to up the game a little bit. And I've left my above average ones downstairs. I've just realised, but they're pretty cool. They're like don't know what they're made of actually. But they're solid and thick.
They have a sort of acrylic looking thing. Do they have a cork? Actually, can you flip them around? Ah, they've got a sort of corked wood kind of background. That's nice.
Well, it looks that way, but it's not quite cork. But I don't know what it is. It feels slick anyway. So love it.
Very impressive. Beer mat chat here. This is the place for it. I'm still on the kind of ones that Adam from Above Average gave me about 2 or 3 years ago. So that's all I've got. Here in the frame, but there you go. Let's say hello to a few people because, like I say, last few weeks we've been a bad partner, so to speak. So actually, do you know what? I'm going to give the first shout out this evening ahead of game week 7 to someone who's not actually in the chat because Danny and I absolutely love someone on X who is very supportive of the pod. So he's got a road trip coming up, and he asked specifically if we were about to go into pod mode this evening. So Donny, that shout out's for you. We
should say Pete as well. Doom, he's also got a road trip, and he obviously
they both got road trips. We are the official road trip pod. So if you need anything that lasts for ages, rambles on and on about stuff that doesn't really matter,
you just need a really, really long road.
Really long. So we'll try and make it as long as possible. Yeah, that's we're not necessarily efficient, but we are very, very long. But yeah, just to say hello to everyone else who's joining this evening as well. A few new faces in there tonight as well. Gareth Pashley, evening folks, evening to you, Gareth. That's an amusing picture that you have there of, I don't know what kind of dog that is, but anyway, that's one for the chat to talk to us about. A few wildcard questions. Danny and I've already wildcarded, so we're not going to. No, we'll cover it a bit. We'll do it a bit. Sam Trafford, Kevin Kehoe, who didn't like my reference to some health food topics on X earlier this week, and the value of mushrooms. Obviously, high in vitamin D because they grow low to the ground. You know, very important. But Kevin Kehoe, he's not having any of it. He's a real food kind of man. So absolutely fair enough. I can't argue with that. So, yes, evening to others, JB, Danny, Simon Baker's got a road on. I'm not sure that came straight after the kind of wood joke. So I don't know if road on.
It's got a rod on.
Rod on. Yeah. Oh, rod on. Of course it is. Yeah. Very good, Simon. There we go. So I mean, yeah, very good indeed. And Easy, our good friend, and then so on.
That's to be fair. That could they'll like that. Zoff will like that. He's a rod on owner, isn't he?
Indeed, yeah. Well, it was between him and Alderete on my wild card, and they both scored, so can be forgiving for that pick as well. Actually, just whilst we're kind of setting up, actually, quick reference back to the mini league at the moment because it's quite interesting. I mean, still not so many people in it that you can't possibly imagine winning it, by the way. So definitely worth a shot. So the code is LZKI6K, all lowercase. So please do. Not too late to join that. You've got another couple of months. But I probably will stop referring to it quite so obviously in terms of the sign up as the weeks go on. So, but I'll put it in the chat each time if nothing else. Nothing changes at the top. So John Hilton is still top, 86 points. So cool, good for him. And he's 12 points clear of Paul.
I wonder what that puts him as OR overall, because that seems like quite a big total, doesn't it? I don't even know what my total is.
I am lazy, but Now, I've got two things that I want to pick out here. Very important stuff. Number, should we do the positive first? Alon Shapiro, our good friend Alon, who's been on 3 times, I think. He is arguably the best player in the world at the moment. I don't think there's too much debate about that, with his sort of back 5 with 3 4.0s and Jared Bowen, who's now back to being useful again. 97 points, 22nd in our mini league, probably wildly outperforming either of us. I would have thought so. So well done, Alon, because we're the only pod he listens to. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But yeah, the other one I want to reference is Johnny Eggs, or John Edgar, who's 4th at the moment with 413 points. Well done, John. Now, I know that you have a hand in picking your partner's team here. She's 103rd in the mini league. So what's going on there? Yeah. So
I hope they're still together. I just thought
together. I was going to say, with her team, Shatner's Bassoon, which is a great team name.
Is this indicative?
I'm hoping that she might join. In fact, drop a message, Sarah.
Hang on.
Together. Anyway, I should probably stop there. I don't want to be responsible. I'm all about the romance. So please do stay and be happy and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, looking good. So well done, Alon, in particular, but also well done if you feature on this list.
Yeah. So Alon, we should say, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Rich, but we should say, I don't know if you already said it just then, but he's obviously opted for the 3 4.0 defenders, hasn't he? So he's got quite a unique team, which is pretty cool. And then obviously, so of his 3, he chose to start Alderete. Is how you say it this week?
Yeah.
So presumably benched like Rodon and whoever else. I mean, they all banged, didn't they? So yeah, nice for that to come off. So he has to play one of his 4.0. So he's Alderete this week, and like wow. So when that hits big, doesn't it?
It's the only clean sheet this week, wasn't it? I didn't realise that until I heard their pod earlier today, actually. So that's the FML pod for those who fancy something else as well. Sorry, I'm just going to have to mention this because dog chat is important to me. Rough-coated lurcher. Oh, that's no, passed away. That's a shame. It's a lovely dog anyway. If you're listening, that's the bit to go into the YouTube for, because it will make a lot more sense. But anyway, good stuff in the mini leagues. I don't tend to care about them a great deal, but this year with our own, I'm actually paying some attention. So, that's pretty good. Yeah, Alderete, that was very good for anyone who came in. Only clean sheet this week. I'm pretty sure about that. So there we go. Just going back to what we're talking about tonight, it's a little bit more chilled out, to be honest with you. I mean, Danny and I are exhausted from our diet of chips for the last few weeks. Actually, do you want to have a quick chat about that, Danny, very quickly on how your chips went in the last couple of weeks, and then we'll crack on with today's themes. As you can see, by the way, midfielders to the rescue. We're going to talk about some of the exciting prospects. I actually spoke to Craig earlier this week, and he's got some great. Craig, FPL Vincenzo, there we are, who was thinking, is this a time to be sort of patient, etc., or is it actually a kind of quite an interesting dynamic time to do something and to not let people sort of stack up their transfers in the way that many sort of wildcarders might be. But yeah, just very quickly on your chips, Danny, how did the triple captain go? Are you happy with that?
Yeah. Let's come back to that. I don't know if you said you were going to come back to that with Craig.
Yeah,
is it a good time to be patient? I don't know if there's such thing as a question as is there a good time to be patient? I'm not sure there is such thing as that question. So maybe that's another topic.
Yeah,
I think you've either got good picks or you haven't.
Yeah. Well, it will filter into our chat definitely.
Okay. But yeah. Sorry,
yeah.
Go on.
I was just going to say that I know that Craig's is one of his themes that he's looking at this week, so I don't want to kind of steal it in the most obvious way.
Okay.
We'll drip feed it gradually through the pod so that we're not, in breach of any copyright laws against any of our friends. So that's probably just as well a way to go. And actually, I'm very excited to talk about Gordon because something has literally just happened as we've been starting the pod. Is he took a penalty above Voltemado. They're both on the pitch against, I think they're playing Union San Giloas, or apologies if I butchered that. But that's just happened, so that makes him quite an exciting.
Yeah, so that was quite a good picture choice from me, wasn't it?
Yeah, you knew. How did you know?
There you go. You see.
Yeah.
I mean, we thought he would be anyway, but no. You asked me to answer the question about chips, so I will just quickly because yeah, it's nice, isn't it? Because the reason I wanted to is because got to celebrate these things. I was thinking, wow, last season as I've bored everyone to death with 1,000 times. Obviously, I got 10 points combined from my triple captain and bench boost combined. Both played in a double game week. The bench boost with like 2 or 3 double game week players who played, and the triple captain on 180 minutes of Marmouche with 2 good fixtures for City, 10 points combined. This season, both played in a single game week, 42 points combined. So yeah, the lesson basically is just play the chips when you get the most points.
Yep. Okay, that's valuable advice. Hard to knock that. To be fair, I was because
you know what?
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, like, sorry, I keep interrupting you there, but there's something really sort of joyous though about getting a chip that does hit in a single game week. I don't know what it is. It's like it feels so good. Like it's in a double game week. It feels so laborious even getting there. And like putting a team together for it and thinking about the bloody wild card and the chips all season and the spreadsheets and kind of by the time you get there, you're like, Christ, just get this thing out of the way, and these rubbish players that you've got on your bench with a double game week. I don't know. And like sort of having to, I think it's because we're so used to having to play, for example, the triple captain in the double game week. And I know it's like Haaland and it's not that exciting, but there was something really nice about that, especially someone like me who last season I didn't, I did wait till the double game week. I didn't play it on Haaland. I missed that 17 pointer. I didn't play it on him against Southampton when I think he ended up with like 6 points, but he had like 3 XG or something.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. Yeah.
So sorry, my phone keeps going off, and I don't know if it's loud on the pod. I'm just going to put it down there for a second, which probably means FPL stuff is happening. So I'll check it in a second. But no, you know what I mean. So it's like, yeah, it was just really nice, and also just like with the bench boost, it was just logical for me anyway, and that's the thing that I think people should look for and think about with the bench boost is like just when it's logical to get it done, almost get it done, because you just want to get the players out and things can happen. Anything can happen. It doesn't need to be a perfect looking bench boost. Because I know, like, I guess we'll talk about this, but I know that, for example, for a lot of people, maybe game week 8 looks best, or people are looking at that because it's really good on paper. But of course, the problem is it's straight after international break. So actually, there's a little bit of the logic lost for me. In terms of, it doesn't feel like a secure one, whereas my bench boost, which obviously I got fortunate with in terms of it working out in terms of getting returns, was just fully justifiable as well, just fully logical. So it all just felt like it was in place. It was really nice. It's just nice for things to be in place. And same with Haaland. It's like Haaland's at home to Burnley. You can't really argue with it, and then so it's nice when it comes off. So anyway, I won't go on and on about it. But damn, those late goals, that was nice, man. Because I was in the your face. You probably weren't very happy about it as someone who didn't have triple captain.
No, it's fine.
But it's so weird because you're like watching it on like I tend to like if I've not got it on TV, I'll have it on Bet365 or one of those apps because they're faster than anything else. Showing when a goal goes in. I'll basically you see it on there before it happens on TV. So yeah, it was like end of the game. And it was like, did that really happen? Because you see that City have just scored and it's gone like, his first goal. And then it says goal again, like 10 seconds later. And you're like, has this just happened? You're texting people, has Haaland just scored again? So it was nice. It was nice to get that.
That definitely would have been one of the highlights of the week. To be honest with you, and this is a terrible thing. Like we're all, maybe you're talking about the positive, right? I'm going to be the mean-spirited FPL manager here. I got excited a couple of times this week, and it was both involving one player who actually we've been quite nice about in the past. But I spent all weekend, thinking to myself, okay, so I'll give a bit of context. On the wild card, it was broadly pretty standard picks, right? As you know, there's a reason why there wasn't a lot of debates, and a lot of people were moaning about it and getting dribbly. Oh, why is everyone picking the same? So, not saying I was influenced by this, but I did look at a few areas and think, okay, there's just some areas just to be a little bit. There's a justifiable difference here and that sort of thing. One of them was to go against Tarkowski or Tarkowski. I don't know. We haven't had that debate yet. and him getting booked. Ooh, and then another one later on, clean sheet wipeout. Ooh, and then finally, it's like the what's it? You know, the sort of wrestling guy gif where he sort of gets steadily more excited.
Oh yeah.
And finally, of course, no Defcons, and it's like, oh, lovely.
Yeah. So the three most satisfying things of the week all involved basically Tarkowski and
someone else's failure. Yeah, that is usually how it works. Yeah, because actually the other excitement was for a player that I'd benched, so I can't really get excited too much about that as well. But yeah. So that, but no, I'm glad it went well. I might be playing a chip this week, but a bit like you with bench boost. It's an interesting one because the strength of the bench boost for me, we'll talk about it right at the end of the pod. It looks the same more or less in 7, 8, and 9, but I've discounted 8 as an option just because it's like, unless I hear really good news about everyone returning and all that kind of stuff, I'm very unlikely to use it. Whereas 7 is justifiable, but there's a few problems because of player updates, and we'll talk about that later. Romero being a real pain this week. And then game week 9, which also looks pretty good because at the moment I'd have to bench someone like a Minte at Man United, which I'm not terribly excited about that prospect. So we'll come on to that. Let's talk about one of our kind of little topical themes this week, as I said, because you were very high off the quick off the mark by identifying this sort of midfielders of interest. If I was wildcarding, I'd have at least 2 of these this week, actually. So to answer someone's question, but I know I'd get lured in by Gordon now. If you were a wildcard this week, there's no way you would get lured in by that. And of course, Sarr, really good pick as well. Minte, I'll talk about him later on, but I squeezed him in, which is probably unlikely, some might think, for me. But again, really not much money over someone like a stack, and I just
frozen
saw
there, Rich. This is
a bit of an opportunity. Sorry, have I frozen?
Technical issue I can recall.
On my back?
You're back.
I'm back.
Yeah, you are back. I don't know if it was you or me, but that was you went off the screen for a second. That never normally. That's the first time it's ever happened to us. But you're back now.
I'm going to blame you. Yeah. Well, I'll carry on anyway. Let's talk about these midfielders anyway. So, what was your thinking, by the way, just behind talking about midfielders? Because I it's not necessarily an obvious theme for pods this week. But was there anything that jumped out at you as being a reason to look at this?
Yeah, definitely, because I think I put on the thumbnail like midfielders to the rescue. Like I was just thinking, like, because everyone is on a bit of a downer, and I've not seen much talk just sort of about the kind of meta in terms of midfielders and the general midfielders on offer. Because everyone's on a bit of a, well, not everyone's on a downer about DEFCON, but there's been a lot of talk about it being a bit of a downer and like what we have to celebrate and the narrowing of the picks, basically, especially with defenders. So I just thinking about it, and he's gone off the screen again. Oh, there we are, back. You back? You there?
Yeah. I don't understand.
Yeah, okay. It might just be me. We'll see.
I mean, everything looks fine to me.
Oh, fine then. If it happens, I'll just carry on speaking.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So just suddenly we've got. I mean, Sarr coming back and looking really fit straight away is a big sort of that. There's a big reason for that, because that's just a whole nother midfielder. For example, we've got him on the screen there, and it's like a whole nother midfielder who is arguably, of the cheap midfielders, arguably the best, or in fact, probably hands down the best. I don't know, Semenyo and those sort of guys. But basically, and it's kind of obvious, but it's quite nice because I think there's a lot of justifiable variation here. Like there's loads of good picks. How do we determine who is the best out of these guys? I think it's really difficult. So it's quite fun, especially for people on wildcard. Like, where are you going to go with these guys? It's a pretty significant decision to make, and it's going to see people go off in not necessarily different directions, because it doesn't really change much structurally, which is pretty important, because these guys are all relatively cheap. I guess most of the guys I'll talk about, and I'll talk about some of the ones who are less cheap. And remind me. So I'm thinking about people like Eze. So I don't even know how much Eze is, but I'm assuming he's like 7.5 or something like that.
Yeah.
So he's a little bit more expensive. Is Gordon 7.5 as well, by the way, or is he less?
Yeah, no, he started out that way. So yeah.
Okay, so that's the sort of top of the range of these guys that we're talking about. But I just think, when you think about who you can squeeze in, I mean, you've got people who are falling down a little bit in terms of the hierarchy potentially in terms of, I'm thinking like Bruno Fernandes, like he's gone from being nailed onto the team where everyone's now looking for a little bit of a question mark. Like, is he definitely on penalties? Probably. Cool. So let's just assume it's me then. Thanks. Yeah, Bruno is still in everyone's team at the moment, probably justifiably so. I think he probably is on penalties, but basically, we talked as well last week about potential justifications for the Haaland switch, didn't we? And, in terms of other players on offer and how there aren't many forwards, basically. I mean, just structurally, there aren't many good forwards, but there are shitloads of really good midfielders. So, I don't know. I'm going to come back to you in a second in terms of just who you think is a standout pick then, because Semenyo for me is still locked at the moment, because again, it's like you just play what you're sort of seeing at the moment. There's no reason, if it's not broke, you don't fix it. So Semenyo's amazing. Reinders for me is still amazing. I'd find it very difficult to get rid of him. I know he hasn't necessarily returned much recently, but ridiculous pick. We've got Bruno. I mean, and Jai I still think is amazing, but again, because these midfielders are so good, there's a little bit of a question mark there. Obviously, I've got Paqueta in my team from wildcard 4. He's like an interesting wildcard 4 pick. He's in a lot of wildcard 4 teams, isn't he? And people now, I mean, I heard Praz saying, I've not got through all of the wire today, but he was saying that he described Paqueta as a lock for him in wildcard 8. So that's quite interesting, and I can see the grimace on your face as a West Ham fan. We'll come back to you in a second about that.
A lock is
exactly. So that's really interesting, isn't it? I mean, we'll come back. I mean, maybe he hasn't. Well, he probably has no Praz, but I was going to say, maybe, I don't know to what extent he's actually inspected what it looks like and who that comes at the cost of. But I mean, I'm certainly, for example, looking at Paqueta and feeling now really hopeful and quite excited. I mean, he looked like he was on all set pieces. He looked like he was on all set pieces. You can confirm this in a minute, in corners and stuff. He looked amazing. He does look repeatable in terms of DEFCON. He's a great player. When I say DEFCON, it was a bit like what I first saw in him in that number 10 position, or kind of number 10 position, probably more of a number 10 actually now under Nuno. He just seems to clean everything up, is what he does. I don't know if it actually looks like that in terms of a lot of it being recoveries, but he seems to just he seems to be the guy who just, gets in and cleans up afterwards. And yeah, he's just a great player. So I'm feeling really good about him. He's got some good fixtures coming up. I think he's got like Brentford at home in game week 8 or 9 or something where I'm going to play him. And he's 5.9. And this is a guy who's on penalties. So you're talking about, if you're talking about, again, just the boxes to tick, if you're talking about penalties, set pieces, minutes, and DEFCON, and 5.9, I mean, I guess a discussion as well. I know I've said lots of things here, but a discussion is as well is how relevant, how important is price and cost at the moment, because that is an important question. And I think me looking ahead, I guess maybe that depends on things like Palmer being fit. So I don't know. So I'll stop. But you see what I'm saying? So I mean, I've missed some. I mean, even we need to, don't let me forget to actually mention Jadon Anthony as well and talk about him as a pick anyway. There's another one. So there's loads of midfielders.
Weirdly enough, this might surprise you, but he was in my draft until the last day last week.
Was he, you sneaky little bastard? Never mentioned that, yeah.
Partly because he looked like he might rise. But yeah. No, but it was but do you know what? It was one of those ones where the closer it got to the deadline, I was like, do you know, maybe it's actually quite a good idea. There's lots of reasons.
Well, honestly, I mean, we'll start with Jadon Anthony. Let me just quickly say on him and what you were thinking, because isn't he just a brilliant example of what being a talismanic player means in FPL? That's what a talisman is. I mean, I don't know if he's on penalties, so it doesn't. Is he? I don't know. Maybe Foster is, but so it maybe doesn't tick all of these sort of talisman boxes. But with Jadon Anthony, you basically, you're almost backing Burnley to score. Are Burnley going to score some goals? And that's massive, because that's how significant a part of that team he is. He is the goal scorer really of the team, or the heartbeat of it, and it's kind of going to be him or like Foster. But that's what a talisman is. You're guaranteed the minutes, which is huge, and it's the goal share. I mean, they'd have to have pretty terrible fixtures right now for him to be a bad pick. And what is he, like the 3rd or 4th or 5th highest scoring pick in the game? Now I know he's probably overperforming. I know we don't really know. It's one of those things you'd have to sort of bet on it continuing. But he looks like a great player, a great pick, doesn't he? I just think it's really interesting because I'm saying all this because none of us is not going to be in the template. We're not going to pick him at the moment because it's still too early. He still plays for Burnley, blah, blah, blah. But I just think he's a really good example of what you get when you look for minutes and talisman and leave him there. Nothing to worry about leaving Anthony there. I mean, he could just carry on like this. I mean, yeah, go on.
I mean, actually, just on that. So I'm not going to pretend that he'd be the first name on the team sheet for me, but this is one of the reasons why I was trying to make room for something a bit more interesting in that cheap spot that eventually became Yakuba Minter for me on wildcard, because it was just it's like it's not much of a risk to pay an extra sort of, you know, it depends on what you were going from, but another 500,000 or a little bit more or something to just do something a little bit more interesting, incredible fixtures. His minutes look really, really, really strong, and he was terrorizing that Chelsea defense. I know they had another red card and all that kind of stuff. He does look the best player for them at the moment, to me, anyway. And actually, just going to say this now, he's taller than I thought he was. So you know, so people looking into the height thing. I mean, put it this way: before I just said that, how tall do you think Yakuba Minter was in your head?
I thought he was quite. I thought he was 5'10", maybe.
Oh, he always ruin it. No, I just mean, I always thought of him as being like quite a short, sort of nippy kind of player. I think he's only just a smidgen under 6 foot. But the point being is that I was surprised by that. He actually looks quite aerially, like reasonably physically robust and fairly aerial and that sort of thing. What I was going to say though, before we go through these actual picks in a bit more of a sort of itemized sense, it does remind me, you mentioned last week about, you know, is this the same sort of feeling as when we switched Haaland out for Salah essentially via the cheap strikers? And you mentioned about, well, yeah, but who are the good players in the different positions? And last year we had Cunha. You know, Cunha was right there. And he was offering an awful lot, and he turned out to be really good until he got another red card or an injury or whatever it was. So it was worthwhile. This season, I'm not saying it's definitely going to turn out this way, but at the moment, okay, what is it? Sarr 6'4", 6'5", and Jai 6'5", Minter 5'9", Paquetá 5'9". They're all really good. They're all, you know, you could make a justifiable argument for any of those.
Exactly.
All pretty solid for minutes as far as well. Even the ones that are in Europe, like Sarr, is not too bad for that side of things. And then you've got players even down from that if you want to fish in that market where there's a bit more DEFCON and that sort of thing. I'm not a huge fan of it, but you know, you can still go for those kind of stacky kind of picks if you wish to as well, which is perfectly reasonable if you don't use them too often. But I think there is an argument now, isn't there? Okay, so later on when we get to this point, are we going to see an opportunity to think, well, maybe we'll go for the Isaac route instead of Salah, for example, because, you know, we've just got those great options in a reasonable price midfield bracket. So it's quite, you know, we haven't mentioned loads of people as well. You say Anthony, I didn't even mention in my bit there. We haven't talked about Gordon yet, who's obviously a bit more, but still good value. Some people were going Mitoma as well, who I don't quite like as much as Minter myself, but that's another thing as well. Yeah, I have to say though, just before we go on, I mean, for me, the standout one, and if I'd seen him this week and I was wildcarding this week, because I love him anyway, I would have no hesitation in definitely picking Sarr. I don't think there's any doubt about that, because the man is playing, you know, close to the front anyway. We know he's got repeatable good numbers. He's never really a minute's risk if he's fit. Whenever he's been fit, isn't he? He's always been getting good sort of 85, 90 minutes. So no real issues there. And also the guy on the left for Crystal Palace, Pino, I can't remember what it is. Jeremy anyway. He does look broadly more of a provider, and he started pretty well as well. So I think lots to be optimistic there. I think I'd like to get myself one of him or Mateta at some point, depending on how the land lies down the line. But I mean, if things allow, I'd probably prefer Sarr, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, Sarr is... I try and think about all these. He just jumps out as the most repeatable of all these midfielders. And this is the thing, the most reliable for points. Like this is where you feel most comfortable. I mean, I can't remember his exact numbers last season in terms of like, he was like top 2, top 3 players or midfielders for non-pen XG for the season. Something absurd.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, behind Salah, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So he put up the numbers for the whole season last season, and got good returns, although probably underperformed on those numbers. And now this season, he looks like there's a bit of narrative there, but it kind of always looks and feels to me like he's stepped up a bit in terms of, Eze's left, and he's like, right, I'm here now. And you always feel like that when you've been somewhere for a bit longer and you've been somewhere for a couple of years and you score goals and people look to you, look for you. He knows that the whole team want him fit. He knows that the fans all want him fit. He knows that like Mateta is probably gutted in training when he's not fit and he's not in the team with him. And he's the most, furthest forward player. I mean, this guy, so he's already putting up the numbers again. I'm just looking now. So Sarr is 5th in the game this season for non-pen XGI, and he's missed 2 games. We're only 6 games in. He's missed 2 whole games. I mean, and he's got at least 2 games, and he's already got 8, 7, 11. He's already got returns. I mean, and he's more out of position, isn't he? As you said, he's the one who's actually the last man.
Mm.
So this is a guy who's Palace are a really good team. I mean, the thing is, actually talking about Palace, this is actually important, actually thinking about it, because it's a discussion we'll have. Let's just stay on Palace for a second, because it is a discussion, because it's a very big question for my team, as we'll talk about later, in terms of my transfers, in terms of defenders. But the one big thing about Palace is the fixtures and Europe. Now, this is the one thing, and it wouldn't mean that I wouldn't buy Sarr, because this is the thing. You can't. It's very difficult, because he's so standout to me as a midfielder right now that it's difficult to go, oh, I'm not going to buy him because they're in Europe or in the fixtures that they've got. But it's certainly a worry and something to think about. And while you don't necessarily need to be too fearful, for example, of not owning him, because the thing with Palace, as we know, they've not really got much depth. First of all, okay, so they're a brilliant team, but they're a brilliant 11. They've got this system that's very rigid. They only play the same system. Glasner has this one thing. He's basically honed this team now for however many years he's been there. 2, 3 years at least. He's honed this team, this whole system. He's perfected it. It relies on most of them being in place, most of the cogs being in place. Wharton, Mateta, Sarr, now that Eze's not there, Munoz, these kind of wing backs, all these players that are so specialised, the kind of players that we don't have specialised at United for basically the same system, And you think of like Munoz or a Wharton and those midfielders, the sort of players United don't have. And so there's not much depth there. There's not much rotation. How are they going to cope with that? And we already saw at the start of the season when they had a couple of European games, didn't they? And we heard words like Mateta, for example, being described as being absolutely shattered. We were like 5 games into the season, or less than that, 3 or 4 league games into the season. And he said, Mateta is absolutely shattered. This is the week where I'm just looking at the results where they had Sunderland at home. So you look at, I know Sunderland have been decent. Let's not get carried away with Sunderland. They've been decent, but it's still Sunderland at home. It's a fantastic fixture. And you're looking at that and thinking, so Sarr obviously wasn't fit for that one, I don't think, but it was 0-0. And it was 3 days after Europe. It was a Thursday, Sunday. The whole time they've got Europe, it's Thursday, Sunday. It's that brutal, change around. And I think West Ham after that, possibly West Ham was after Europe as well, the second leg, where it was 2-1 in the end. They scraped to a win. And so it's just worth thinking about. So when I look at their fixtures now, so they've got Kiev, Dynamo Kiev away tomorrow.
Ooh.
So that's a stinking trip, right? So that's Thursday. We've not really seen evidence, so I don't expect. And again, Palace fans, come in the chat, let us know what you think about in terms of rotation and if he's going to do anything like that in Europe. I wouldn't have thought so. How does he choose what to prioritize? It's so difficult for teams like this that can't kind of swap round. How do you prioritize? What do? You kind of have to sacrifice. You almost have to sacrifice both competitions in a way. I mean, look what happened to Spurs last season. I suppose they just chose one competition, didn't they, entirely? But so they've got Kiev away, and then when do they play? I think it's Sunday, is it? So it's always Thursday, Sunday. I should have got up the 1 second. So they play on Sunday, yeah. So Everton away. We've got the international break. They've got Bournemouth at home. So that's after international break, so seems okay, but Bournemouth is a tough fixture. They've then got another European game on the 23rd of October, and then play Arsenal away on the 26th. Then they've got Liverpool. So these are the sort of fixtures when you're not too concerned anyway, because they're difficult fixtures in the league. Then they've got Brentford, and then they've got Europe again against AZ Alkmaar, and then they've got Brighton. So it's actually a lot of the good, sort of the decent fixtures on paper for Palace come straight after Europe. Everton this weekend, another one they've got, and then so Brighton is straight after Europe, Brighton at home. Then they've got Wolves away, then it's Europe again, and then it's Palace at home 3 days later again, 27th to the 30th. It goes on and on. So this is one of the things about Palace that's really difficult, and we don't know what's going to happen, but I suspect it's going to be really difficult for them because they can't rotate. I don't think they're going to rotate these sort of players. And what do you think, thinking about those fixtures?
No, I was going to say, because I mean, I looked at this before and thought to myself, well, it's definitely one to kind of reevaluate around about game week 10 if you're not stocked up on them already. I think that looks a little bit more of a kinder entry point, whereas, as you say, it's quite hard to justify soon unless you're jumping in on wildcard. But it also, by the way, not to make this about me, but it's another reason that attracted me a little bit to Minto, because I thought, well, again, they don't have that problem, do they? He's getting good minutes anyway. The numbers look good. They're not as good as Sarr, obviously. And by the way, and there's another thing that no one will know, but a nerd on wildcard looks up. Minte's country, who I can't remember, are not at AFCON. So a bit of research there. So it saved you 5 minutes. Whereas nice. Sarr, I can't remember, but I'm guessing I would have thought his country definitely are, because they're a bit better, aren't they? Who does he play for? Is it Senegal?
That's what I wanted to say, but I didn't want to say it and be wrong, so I'm not sure. I'm not
okay. Chat, you can correct us. Are we correct? Is Sarr a Senegalese player? And God, Minter, I've already forgotten his country. I'm going to say the Gambia, but I've already forgotten. So again, if anyone wants to look that up, but I'm pretty sure they didn't qualify anyway. There we go. Bit of geography.
Yeah, so the kind of way I see Palace, just making a completely random prediction on what I kind of is that their system and their incredible defenders and sort of five at the back and their incredible three. There we go. Their incredible three centre backs means. I think it'll attack. I think it probably impacts their attack more than their defense. I don't know. It just feels like they've got that system and they've got that brilliant defense, but then to score goals, it just takes that little bit extra. I don't know, kind of impetus and pace and that's what I sort of feel like is maybe it'll have more impact on the attack. But saying that, when the whole team's tired, you do invite a lot more pressure and stuff. And
you do, yeah. No, but do you know what? This is a good point, because I have thought about what do I do if Romero is out. Like out, because I really want, and the first two players that come to mind were Burn and Richards / Lacroix, who we don't know yet. Chat, please tell me. Burn is playing at left back tonight apparently, so that's an interesting one that kind of makes me a little wary, because it's less DEFCON friendly, isn't it? And then you've got the two centre backs, so they're quite interesting. I'd be interested, by the way, when we get to it, for you to tell me your experience of Lacroix. I'm going to stay with Lacroix until anyone tells me off, because like in terms of whether he's worth the extra money, my instinct is no, but I'll be interested to hear it later on.
Okay, because I need to decide whether to sell him this week. So we're going to be talking about it anyway. But yeah, let's move on to other midfielders here. Just quickly, you can add whatever you want to see. I mean, Minter, I think is a great. I mean, Brighton are just a nice team to have, aren't they? The thing with Brighton is you feel like they can score against anyone, and I think Minter and Matoma are both really good picks. Weirdly, though, they are kind of lots of these picks are quite unique, aren't they? Because they're full on wingers. They don't have set pieces necessarily or penalties that I can think of or know of. So they're just wingers that are very good. But I mean, Minter he's so relentless. I mean, did you see him running at the weekend? He just, when you see someone running like that, that does tell you kind of eye test wise that someone's at their peak, like physically. When it was like at the end of the game and he's just absolutely bombing it and just looks like the game had just started. So it's actually really good information because you know that physically they're just completely on top of the body. And that's pretty massive. You know, that's big for coaches and sports science. You know, they're going to be in the team. And yeah, it's just like a second season thing. You can see that he's just got a bit more used to the Premier League, and he's just. I mean, he came here with the ridiculous numbers, didn't he? And everyone's saying this guy's going to be unbelievable, and he had incredible like non-pen XGI numbers, incredible like kind of pressing and winning the ball back. So just looks like an amazing pick, but I'm never terrified of. I'm never like I don't get like really envious with like Mincer and Matoma again because they're just wingers. But yeah, great picks. And then there's Gordon. So you said that he's taken a penalty tonight. We assumed he was on penalties anyway, so it's like confirms it. But Gordon's such a weird one, isn't he? Because I feel like everyone's kind of got away with it a bit so far. We're just like we all know that Gordon's there, and we're all like pretending he's not there and pretending it's not happening, and sort of like unconsciously trying to get through another game week with a guy who's like basically the main man really for Newcastle. And this is a guy who isn't going to get rested or rotated of all the guys that they do have. Elanga and Barnes, they all are. Unless there's something wrong with Gordon, that's how I view him. So we're talking about a team in Newcastle who are a top 5, top 6 team in the Premier League. Really solid, really good, especially good at home. And Gordon's on penalties, and he's like a mature kind of talismanic player. He's a guy who has no fear. I mean, when he played up front against Liverpool, he got injured at half time or something, didn't he? He got injured like halfway through the game, and he was the best player on the pitch by a mile. And it looked like a ridiculous pick from fantasy football perspective. I know that now Walter or whatever is there, and so he's not necessarily going to be playing up front or whatever. Or maybe he does when he comes off after 60 and what the Whistler situation. But Gordon's just there. And so he is also like a ridiculously good pick and a ridiculously fun pick because no one owns him. And by the way, I'm sure you've looked, right? But fixtures. So they're second on the fixture ticket to game week 16. They've got Forest at home, which looks lovely. They've got Brighton away, which is very nice. In fact, I don't need to evaluate the fixtures as I go. Forest, Brighton, Fulham at home, West Ham, Brentford. Then they've got City at home, which is absolutely fine. Everton, Spurs, Burnley, Sunderland. Incredible fixtures for Gordon, and no one owns him. And this is what I meant about like midfielders. Our midfielders there to the rescue. Again, another one is like Enzo. I didn't mention. Maybe we should talk about Enzo or something like that. A lot of people rate really highly. There's loads of these midfielders that hardly anyone owns. I mean, look at that screen. Hardly anyone owns. What are these guys owned by? No one owns any of these 3 players.
No, I mean Mincer was hardly anything for sure. What I will say, I mean, the reason why I would pick any of these 3 above Enzo personally is just because they're in a situation which is presumably unlikely to change. Right, we know their roles, whereas the Enzo situation is a little bit more like that. I'm not really that keen on picking players like that, but yeah. That's same. It. But I wouldn't put anyone like if they've got him, like by all means hang on to him until things change. And yeah, no issue there at all. But yeah, I would find it very hard to not pick certainly Gordon and Sarr. Mintz is a funny one. I know what you mean. I'd like to believe that you're scared of him, but I know what you mean. Like he looks fantastic. I also think where his shooting position is always one that slightly puts me off. Like I don't know about you. He's sort of shooting from that kind of wide angle of the 6-yard box, where it hits the keeper's feet. It's that kind of thing. So unless he's cutting in and bending one in, which he has been doing, it's a little bit of a thing. But because the minutes are solid, I think it's a reasonable pick. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. And I mean, if anything, weirdly enough, I can see other members of the midfield more likely to move on for different reasons. Let's say you wanted Palmer money, it's got to be Bruno, isn't it? Probably, and Njai will go to AFCON, and all of these kind of things. So we'll come back to that. Sorry. I
just will say quickly because we're talking about Gordon, because we're trying to get breaking news. I mean, it's not breaking news, but we're not watching the game, but Zoff and Ella are talking and chatting. Ella was saying that Gordon took the pen, but him and Walter were talking beforehand, but now Zoff just said he took both, so I guess that's sorted. So it sounds like he's had a second penalty and taken both of them, whilst big big Nick energies on the pitch at the same time. So yeah, sounds like he scored 2 pens.
My God, yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. This is the kind of thing that you're mentioning just very quickly last week. You know how different things change week to week at the moment.
Exactly.
I mean, because you think about it, like, okay, so my midfield on wildcard, and there's nothing wrong with any of these picks particularly. What was it? So Bruno, Minte, Njai, Semenyo, who else? I've already forgotten.
Bruno, Minto, Njai, Semenyo, Reinders.
Reinders. Okay, yeah. There's an argument, isn't there, that you might change 4 of those.
Well, I mean, Gordon's just scored 2 penalties, so people who are on wildcard 7 and 8,
yeah,
and I've
they're all going to go there.
The fixtures are incredible, so they're all that's a feature now of wildcard 7 or wildcard 8. Is Gordon is going to be in there, I would imagine. Yeah. And as I say, some people are going up and down. I mean, even Njai, who I do think is amazing. You know, he came off, what was it, like 80 minutes? It's really frustrating in this time when these midfielders are so good. I don't want any of that. I don't want any of that where it's like, what's his name? If that's going to be the case sometimes. I mean, Njai works so hard and he makes so many tackles that, you know, probably does knacker himself out a bit. But you don't want to see that. So that's a little bit of a blow, minutes-wise. And sort of, as I say, Paquetá's gone up and Njai's gone down ever so slightly just because of the minutes thing. And yeah, as I say, Bruno Fernandes is one to keep an eye on. But you've got
their fixtures are funny, actually. Yeah.
Everton. What, Everton?
I think, our good friend Ken in the chat, who's an Evertonian, and he went against Tarkovsky on his wild card last week, by the way, and he's an Evertonian, so that tells you something. He does mention their fixtures different. They've got, I mean, other than Sunderland, which is an away game, they do broadly get a bit harder. Then they got Palace and City next, for example. So I might be benching Njai in the second one of those, just because of the team. But yeah, I can see that. I wanted to bring this screen up just because, you know, as a flip side to some options that might interest people and tempt people away from banking their transfers, I just wanted to discuss certain players that people think are problems and whether they actually are problems. So I've got 3 on the screen for you. We got Bruno Fernandes. Jacare is looking quite ripped on the picture that I've got there. Do you know what? For a minute there, because my screen's a bit smaller, you won't be able to see what I'm doing here. But he actually looks like a very beefy version of Jordan Henderson. But it is Jacare. And then João Pedro there as well, who picked up a red card, so he'll be missing the next European game. So, Handel, I mean, do you think any of these players are problems if you got them in your team? Relatively speaking. I mean, obviously none of them are fire sales, are they, by any means? And I have a particular view with one of them, but we'll come to that in a minute.
Yeah, I have a particular view with Gyökeres, but I think I've sort of said it before, so you can go first on that.
No, it was just that, like, if anything, strangely enough, I was quite encouraged by the weekend's performance. I thought he actually looked a little bit more at home. You know, his off the ball stuff was a bit stronger. His kind of flick-ons could have easily been involved in some goals. He's still interested in shooting, blah blah blah. So yeah, I don't know. If anything, I was kind of even less. And for what it's worth, I still think, based on the tiny amount of evidence, I'd still say he was going to take a penalty. But
yeah, no, I think he's definitely going to. I'll talk about that in a second. I think he's. I'm pretty sure he's going to take the penalties. That's how I view it. I mean, I'm actually staring at that. That is quite a remarkable physique, really, isn't it? Pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like looking in a mirror, really, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was thinking that for a second. But I think he spends too much time in the gym. You know, it might have been a mistake on his part because, you know, maybe he lost some agility. But yeah, just while we're on Gyökeres, you know, it's the same thing as I sort of said before. I mean, he's nice. He's
50 minutes in.
He's basically doing everything. Well, not everything. I'm not saying he's been like superb, but in terms of what you think, in terms of how you feel about him and what he's looked like you said, he's kind of doing everything right. And as I said before, he still looks to me like he's not fazed by the fact that he's not got that many goals yet, or maybe not playing that well. He's still looks like just a goal-hungry goal machine, is what he looks like. But he is another example, like Wirtz, I think is a kind of, this is what I'm viewing at the moment anyway, is a kind of perfect example again of the Premier League and getting used to this league. Because to me, everything he's doing is still just half a second off in terms of his finishing. His shots are not getting off quickly enough. And this, you know, I expect him to be able to get more time to get a shot off against the weaker team. So I still think it should be okay. But I've said it before, haven't I? Like time is everything in competitive team sports. How much time you have to process and, you know, execute something, that's foundational to the sport. That's everything that goes through, that's the entire process of your brain, everything that you're used to. And you know, we've seen it with Wirtz as well. Everything is just a little bit slower. You know, the number of times he keeps getting tackled when he's about to shoot, because he spent his whole life getting that shot off.
Yeah.
But the Premier League is a different beast altogether, and so you do have to learn to. That's what he has to do. He has to. I mean, I'm sure he's constantly being drilled in training. I'm sure he's constantly doing drills where he's just got to get a shot off. He's got to, like, you know, switch it onto another foot and bang. I mean, think about someone like Harry Kane. He was like he's not the fastest guy, is he? And he's like quite a big, strong guy, but he got a shot off so early. The shot was the shot was hit before you even knew that he'd swung his leg, and that's literally why he scored so many goals. Whereas Gyökeres, you can just sort of see it's a little bit slow motion. I mean, the number of times he knew he wasn't going to get a shot off there. He knew he wasn't going to get a shot off there. So he has got to improve on that, because then that's what's happened. That, you know, in the tougher games, that's why he's simply not getting any goals, because you need to be gifted a goal in the tougher games for that to happen. And he got one. Was it against? Who was it against? Was it against Palace or something, when Eze crossed it to him and he basically just had to finish it, which he does because he's a really good finisher. It was a first time finish, wasn't it? You know, so I know I'm going on with myself, but that's all that's obvious, isn't it, Gyökeres? Like, I just think he's just he's just got to catch up with the pace of the Premier League.
Yeah.
Same as Wirtz. But I think he will. And I'm sort of like looking at it going, I'm actually quite excited about this run of fixtures. And actually, maybe we should talk, we'll get there, but the biggest spanner is still like Palmer and what that looks like, and if he's back fully fit by game week 9, and like how do you get him in and who do you sacrifice? Because, yeah, like, for example, the only way for someone like me to get Palmer in and keep Gyökeres is to sell Fernandes, which doesn't really look ideal. But that moves on to Fernandes, I suppose. Is he an issue?
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because, as you say, if he's ready, you know, I think I probably would do it, but I mean, it's not ideal, is it? You know, by any means. You know, it's still, and of course, we have to. I know we're sitting here now, but every week that passes, I know you'll know more about this than I will, but there's a whole bunch of us who are thinking maybe the manager changes, and
I know. But the problem is when does November take us? Because all the rumors are saying, I don't know what. I don't pay attention to most of this stuff because you just never know what's real and what isn't. But a lot of the rumors are saying that they won't sack him until November, because if they sack him in November, because of the clause, they only have to pay him like 4 million instead of 12. And it's like, Jesus Christ. So but again, we've got international breaks, and we've got 2 international breaks. So I don't know how many games we've actually got in the Premier League in the next like 2 months. Probably not all that many. But it's difficult, isn't it? Like you say, because Bruno Fernandes is never a major problem, because even in this Amarim team, I still think he will take the next penalty. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't, because he's the captain of the team. He's been taking them his whole career. He's got an 88% penalty success rate, you know, which is still ridiculously good. He's missed 2, which is a nightmare. Both of those were the referee's fault. One of them barged into him, and the other one took 5 minutes and let people make substitutes. I mean, it's an absolute joke. It's an absolute disgrace. You don't make someone wait 5 minutes to take a penalty. So he's missed them both. Right. But he's still got all those same fundamentals, 90 minutes, all the set pieces, looks pretty good for DEFCON. Sometimes plays further forward. Sometimes we click-ish. You know, we've still got a decent attacking numbers. I mean, very good attacking numbers on paper. I know there's some penalties in there. And then, as you say, if Amarim is sacked, which is on his way to getting sacked at the moment, you would imagine that the next, we get a manager bounce of some description, and the next manager will just play him in the 10. They won't be playing him as 6, as a deep line midfielder. And then almost any manager, that, even if, I don't know, it's like Graham Souness, if he plays him in the 10, you're gonna get you know, output out of Bruno, aren't you?
I'm really hoping that Souness takes the job. That would make that would be highly entertaining.
Obviously, we're getting rumored with, again, I really hope isn't true, is Southgate, and I just think I don't want to divide the chat here, but I think I would just stop watching United for a bit if we hired Southgate.
Well, there's always Potter. I mean, there was that rumor that that was floating around. I know that was a joke, presumably, but
I mean, I just want to say quickly on that, like, because I'm thinking about Iraola, and that's who I would wish that would be like my number one. With United, I see a lot of this stuff about like, it's just there's just that core problem at United. There's just that deep problem, as if the players have like evolved into some kind of different species and different thing. I just don't buy it. It's all crap to me. I understand that it could probably maybe was a bit poisonous, and maybe we had a few individuals that weren't great. I mean, we've got rid of a lot of people who were a problem, Sancho and like that, or Pogba was apparently a problem. This sort of guys, they've gone now, but I don't buy that sort of nonsense. I mean, people are simple creatures. We're like dogs. We're not. You get a good leader. You get somebody to lead people, and guess what? All of the time you get a good leader. 100% of the time that someone's a good leader or a manager, the people underneath them do well. And United aren't some anomaly in the universe of that fact. It's dead simple. If we get a really good manager and a really good leader, and it is possible to be unlucky and to be incompetent in terms of who you hire, and for us to have just got a shit manager 10 times in a row, that is very possible. Apart from Ollie Solskjaer, who did a very good job for a bit. I can see you waiting, trying not to laugh your head off in the chat again.
Oh, no. This is nothing FPL related at all, but I'm just going to have to say it very quickly. But let me
just finish. So just in terms of, because I'm on my rant about Amorim. It's interesting. I mean, so first of all, I just think that's rubbish. So just scrap that idea altogether. If a good manager comes in, that won't be relevant, because, as I say, people will follow and people will do what they're told. And we've got a good bunch of players, some of them, and kids there. But it is interesting to me, when you take someone like Amorim. I mean, it's a shame. I really wanted him to work, and at the moment he's not. But thinking about someone like Iraola and other managers, and even like Thomas Frank and stuff, it's interesting because, all of the leagues, for example, in Europe, they're like separately evolving organisms, aren't they? They're all in their own space, evolving in their own way, almost kind of distinct from one another, aren't they? In terms of how football changes and advances and what levels they're at. I mean, we can't see it. It's not tangible. So it's very difficult. So we don't really think about that sort of stuff because we can't necessarily prove it. But we know over the years, there've been years back in the day when Serie A was totally dominant in Europe, because that was evolving on its own with its style and with its players. You've had loads of eras where La Liga has been the best because it's been evolving on its own and has developed into these different styles and tiki-takas and all that sort of stuff. We've had eras of the Premier League. I mean, and the Premier League is kind of, it kind of inexorably probably goes towards being the standout and best league because there's the most money there, and it's the best for TV revenue and sort of stuff. And so it's so intense and it's so unbelievable, the level and pace at which it evolves. It's fascinating. You could have 1,000 PhDs on it to understand it. I mean, look at even now the Premier League, the difference now between last season, and we can all see it with our eyes in terms of the different approach to football. And now it's all much more direct and transitional all of a sudden out of nowhere. And they're all doing it at the same time and so when you take another manager from another league, because a lot of the fans in Portugal look at Amorim and go, well, it just doesn't make any sense. He's been amazing in Portugal. We've seen what he's done in other teams. It has to be the players. We know that he can be successful. And I know he's a really intelligent bloke and he's very good and he's very knowledgeable about football. But when you take someone out of a different organism that's evolved at different stages, it isn't as simple as just dropping them into the Premier League and their system, which is very rigid, by the way. And their approach to football is just going to work. And it's just all about the players. Because as I say, it's a completely different beast. And so there's a huge amount, it doesn't seem to be acknowledged enough. There's a huge amount of taking someone who's already done it in the Premier League and has been involved in that evolution and that kind of stage of football. Someone like Iraola and Thomas Frank to Spurs, which is why I really like that appointment and why it seems to be decent so far and that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? So someone like Iraola he's done it.
Yeah, I have to say that would be my first pick in your situation as well, without thinking about, scouring the European market for people I've never heard of. I mean, he seemed like he would be. I actually think he would welcome that. I mean, maybe not mid-season. This is the problem, isn't it? But I think he would be really interested in that role. So if you get the timing right, that'd be quite interesting. I have to say, there's a lot of there's nothing quite like Manchester United to divide opinion in the chat, isn't there? Lots of. I mean, I'm not. You're not at liberty to kind of respond to any of these, but I know that our good friend Derek. Terrible pick at that price, paying quarterback for Bruno. Bruno would be a problem for those who don't have him if Amarin gets sacked from FPL FOMO. And then we've got a couple of references to Manchester United managers. So do you think they need an old wise head in charge? And Old Trafford is a place where players and managers go to ruin their careers. Tempted to reply, or are you happy to move?
Yeah, I mean, it's nonsense, isn't it? It just is what it is. This is the sort. It happens. I mean, it won't go on forever and ever and ever. When it changes, who knows? But he does. At the moment, he needs to go. Just I want to shout out Elevenify, who wrote a really good article on United and Amarin, and it was really simple and nice and clean, crisp article. And without going into any detail, even just the general message of he's been there this long now. And it hasn't worked so far, and we've steadily got kind of worse. This general principle is that when someone's been there for long enough, which he kind of has now, the probability at the moment, the simple, just basic probability from afar, is that he's more likely to not work right now than it is to work. Even just in basic probabilities, and the fact that he's been there and he's had a lot of time, and so yeah, I think if it was simple, which apparently it's not because of all this money stuff and stuff like that, go with the probabilities at the moment. It hasn't worked for long enough. It should probably go, and we just have to keep going until we get the right person in. I mean, it's a shame. He does seem to have crumbled a bit to me. Amarin seems to have crumbled a little bit. Yeah, but yeah. Anyway,
from one sort of basket case team to another, I'm interested in your view on João Pedro, because he was the player I was most flip-flopping on, right until the end. I was very tempted to switch things around and put Mbuemo in there instead, and only time will tell. I mean, we haven't even mentioned him actually, even in a midfield for this week. It'd be really interesting to know what Manchester United you would pick on a game week 7 wildcard. Actually, that'd be quite interesting conversation in itself. But yeah, João Pedro. What are your thoughts? Because I mean, obviously he's got a red card, so he's a little bit buffered from the European minutes issue. In what was it? I think it means that he's got a break between game week 8 and 9, which I know people would have been worried about because Brazil, then game week 8, 9 would have been difficult for some people like myself who might be on bench boost that week. But what do you think? Because obviously he's been taking hardly any shots, terrible XG numbers, red card caveats, fixtures look incredible after next week, I think. So where do you stand on it? You own him, don't you?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a funny one with João Pedro. I always just kind of conceptualized him as basically just a class player who plays up front. Even at Brighton or whatever, and now was like he's a class player and he plays in the right area of the pitch. And he had penalties at Brighton. So side note, does he have penalties right now? Probably not, but I wouldn't be surprised if he takes the next one. I still wouldn't be surprised. He's the sort of guy he's got that attitude, doesn't he? That be like, can I have this one? You know what I mean? Let me have it. I don't see why not. He's probably the best penalty taker there, apart from Cole Palmer. So he could be on penalties. So now he's a class player, potentially not on penalties, up front for Chelsea, where they don't really have anyone else. And you kind of just think a goal share, surely it's going to come through Pedro at some point. He can do everything. I mean, he's an amazing player, by the way. Probably, I don't think that's really been spoken enough, just because Chelsea haven't been great going forward. But his touches and his on the ball, I mean, he's seriously class player. So all I think at the moment is, yeah, I mean, he's a great player. He probably still feels good. He's been very good at Chelsea. There's no reason for his kind of confidence to be low. He's got that break of Europe. It'd be interesting to see what happens in terms of Brazil, because I know, like I think Harry posted that they're both friendlies, and that he's hoping or thinks that maybe he doesn't go. I mean, Harry's a Chelsea fan. He thinks maybe Pedro doesn't go for those friendlies. Maybe they can work it, because they will be desperately trying to work it, actually, because he's there. They haven't got anyone. There were so many injuries. They're probably already having conversations like, "Come on, guys! Like, we always, help us out. They're only friendly." So it's probably a good shout. It wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't go for the internationals. So his minutes are really, really good, and it's just that no one else is jumping out. I mean, I'd want Gyökeres, but I've got him. Obviously, Haaland, and I've got him. Mateta is great. I think if you were choosing one now, Mateta looks better on paper, but again, all the things I've just said about Palace's fixtures in Europe. Whereas Pedro just plays for a better team, doesn't he? And his minutes look very, very good. Right. Okay, so that's already been announced then, has it? Okay. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see where that comes from. FOMO, thanks for putting that in the chat. So Pedro not in the Brazil squad if you're listening. So I don't know if that's
okay.
The upcomers,
so they're probably because they're probably sooner than I thought. So it probably has been announced, and that was kind of basically what I was saying was that I thought
after this week, isn't it? So yeah, it could be.
So that's really nice. You expect him to be fully fit, so he's not going to play in Champions League. He's playing this weekend definitely, and then he's probably going to get a break for the international. So, and then he's got
answer my question.
Yeah, and then he's got Liverpool at home, and I mean Liverpool they are in a shambles at the moment. I'm not saying it's a good fixture; it's never a good fixture, but they are in a shambles, and they don't have Alisson, which is a huge loss, which we need to talk about. But then they go into Forest away, great. Sunderland at home, great. Spurs away, decent. Wolves at home, great. Burnley away, great. And they've got Arsenal. Then they're back into Leeds, Bournemouth, Everton at home. Really good fixtures. So basically, I'm okay with Pedro. I wish he'd got some more points. I missed his 15-pointer at the start, and I missed his 9-pointer that you got. I got his 7-pointer, and then that's been it. But
yeah, that 9-pointer was really moorish. It felt like a moral victory, really. Yeah, no, I'm joking. No, but it's the big haul was the West Ham one, wasn't it? That was a bit of a shame to miss that. But yeah, I think that does really help actually, and that does change my perspective a bit, because it was not one that I was immediately looking to move on or anything like that for sure. But quite interested to see, just to watch that a bit more carefully maybe, and that looks like that is good news. And yeah, Barry, we've spotted that. So Pedro suspended for the Champions League game between 8 and 9. I
didn't see them last night either, by the way. I didn't get a chance to watch the Champions League. And I know that Garnacho set up the goal. I don't know if he looked good or anything like that. I mean, I've spoken about Garnacho before, but hopefully he's looking good, and that would be good for them if he is. They need more in attack, basically. If they've got more in attack, he looks good. And is he playing 9 with like Enzo as the 10 at the moment? I presume so.
Broadly speaking, yeah, I think so.
I think it's quite nice. João Pedro is always one of those kind of he's a bit of an enigma, where the non-pen XG isn't necessarily there, but he's a kind of magical player. So things just happen with him at unexpected times. So
it should be said, by the way, that the numbers in that Brighton game, fairly sure about this, but the like Brighton XG numbers, for example, before and after the Chelsea red card, completely flipped. It was they had something like hardly anything, and then the red card came along, and it was one of those pile-on jobs.
Right.
So, there is that as well. I know that's defensive, but it does matter there as well. Cool. I think what we'll do, we'll just bring up this week's numbers. Just a quick chance as well. I'm reminded of how lovely our chat is because Jamie Clark, is in here asking about which Anglo-Saxon history book would you recommend. Let me have a think about that, Jamie. I'll put something in the chat because I listened to some really good podcasts recently, and the author sounded really, really good. So I'll drop something in the chat there, unless Danny's got something on the top of his head. But yeah, it just gives me a chance as well to say if you do like what we're up to and you enjoy this little late night soiree, well, not late night, mid-evening, but we're old, from Danny and I. Please do smash them buttons, like and subscribe, and share if you will. That'd be very, very kind of you. And and we'll carry on.
Yeah, it had just been announced because it's all coming through all my chats now about Pedro. So
that's good. Yeah,
it's just yeah.
So got the projected numbers for this week, and we'll also go to the kind of long-term ones in a minute as well. Gives us a chance as well to talk about any other teams that we want to. I might just have a quick word on very briefly on kind of the West Ham related stuff, seeing as that the Arsenal West Ham game is inevitably going to be one of the things we talk about because the Arsenal numbers are insane. Of course, Arsenal 2.56 are the best scored, best projected scorers this week, and also the best clean sheet numbers at 0.68 for West Ham goals. So 51% projected goals and clean sheet odds. And we'll come to Arsenal picks in a minute because, of course, some people will be picking fresh. I think you might be eyeing up a defender. We'll talk about that in a few minutes' time as well. But yeah, I don't know. Did you watch the Everton West Ham game at all?
I watched the full first half and then the last maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Okay, yeah. But I mean, first half they weren't great, as you know, but generally I was pretty encouraged by that performance, just because it was the most important thing to see was just a little bit of bite, just people actually caring, people chasing, people doing the right things in terms of the effort. It's obvious that they still got problems. Like probably the worst position that West Ham have in their squad is centre back. They really don't have anyone of great note. Kilman's been broadly a bit of a disappointment since he signed. If I'm honest, over a year ago now, hasn't really quite worked out. It's fine, Mavropanos is error prone. Todibo was left out of the squad, and he's had all sorts of problems with the previous managers, been left out of, been fined or attempted to be fined for lateness and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely the weakness of the squad. But I think the effort was there. I'm really impressed that Nuno didn't delay actually until his coaching staff were available, because apparently that was one of the things that they could have waited until after Everton and Arsenal, as I said on the last pod, because he wouldn't have everything set up properly and wouldn't be kind of ready to start, and the financial stuff hadn't been arranged with Forest and that sort of thing. But the fact that he said, no, I want to take charge. He's only got 48 hours on the training pitch and all that kind of stuff, but he wants to take charge, wants to get ready. And again, he didn't throw away that game. And that's really impressive to see. I'm not going to suddenly say you should go and buy all sorts of West Ham players, but I think for someone like you, Danny, who's got Paquetá, and someone like Alon, who's gone early on Bowen, etc., I think that looks good. I'd be a bit more hopeful. And immediately, I don't know whether West Ham bottom. I'm not actually sure, but they must be in the bottom three. It's fair to say that fans immediately feel a little bit more confident about staying up, which is ultimately the aim this season now, because it's so hard to stay up this season. A lot of good teams.
Yeah,
but that's all I had to say. Nothing particular, but it is sad about Juve. It is sad, isn't it? It's such an indictment of the game that we're not all picking Juve. It really is. I hate it. I know that Eno said in the chat, our good friend Eric, about that he's the best, fullback in the league or whatever it might be that people were saying. Obviously that it's a new thing. But someone like that who's whipping over crosses and getting down the byline, we should be picking him. 4.4 million. We should be picking him. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
I know. It's the first iteration of DEFCON, isn't it? And it's the DEFCON 1 season, and they're going to do something about it next year. Mark is not someone who wants someone like Diouf to not be a pick.
Yeah,
I don't know what they're going to do yet, because I haven't thought about it, but something's got to happen there. So as I say, that again goes back to the theme of this pod, is like, thank God for the midfielders.
Yeah. Something you can do there. Should we start with Arsenal? So
well, I just wanted to say with West Ham and Arsenal, because it's really obvious, but it probably couldn't really be any worse of a fixture for Arsenal in terms of compared to what it was 2 weeks ago.
True.
Honestly,
True.
I honestly think, and I'm not saying it's not a good fixture. It's a great fixture. It's West Ham at home, so just go about your business as normal, as I will when I bring in an Arsenal player this week. But yeah, it couldn't be any worse in terms of a shift in what we thought the fixture was. Nuno was like a guy who has simple methods and simple systems and simple and clear messages, and motivates people. And So it's the sort of thing that gets things working quickly. And we saw it on Monday where they were much better and they got a result, as you said, which is massive. So he had like 2 days. So it's almost like that game, all that game really served as was a kind of a little bit of a shake off and a confirmation of happiness and relief and kind of a bit of confidence. And now he's got a full week, whatever he's got, on top of that now to work on the shape and the basics and obviously defending set pieces. And they'll instantly go from being the worst team at defending set pieces that I've ever seen to someone, team that will probably be reasonably confident. I mean, you should tell us about us as well, but I don't know what Kilman and is it Mavropanos who's centre backs?
Yeah, at the moment, yeah.
But I don't know what they can be like. I know that Kilman. I think I'm pretty sure it was Kilman. Absolutely mopped up the DEFCON last season. He was like, I think Kilman got the 3rd most DEFCON in the Premier League last season. By the way, it was top 5 in terms of total. But I don't know what they're going to look like in terms of set pieces. But yeah, so they're just going to be a much more functional team. And he did well against Arsenal. Nuno did pretty well against Arsenal, didn't he, last year? I think they maybe got one hammering, and then they had a really tight game, or they won 1-0 or something. Was it a Chris Wood goal? Sure, they cleaned against Arsenal last year. So he probably knows exactly what they're coming against Arsenal. So yeah, and anyway, so that's that fixture. And yeah, like you said, I mean, they've got Brentford at home, Leeds, Newcastle at home, Burnley at home. Got some nice little fixtures coming up.
Yeah, no, they have. Yes, but for what it's worth, by the way, Mavropanos would definitely be the greater threat at set pieces, and also, I don't know, is he? I think he's quite comparable for DEFCON, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I was just going to say it was probably out of defenders the 3rd most in the Premier League last season because I don't think that included Caicedo, but I'm pretty sure it was an absolute monster for it anyway.
Yeah, so something to look at, and of course Areola now. I mean, it's early days, but I mean, 4.3. That's quite interesting for people who want to go that way as well. I have a feeling he's going to keep that spot, and Hermansen's not going to get anything, to be honest, which is crazy. But
yeah. So yeah. I think it's going to be. I don't think West Ham are going to get hammered. No. You know what? That's what I meant to say. I knew I was trying to say something. I was just going blank then. I think we should do. You might not like this idea. I don't know, because maybe it means more work in terms of slides. But I think we should maybe think about doing predictions for games each week. I quite like watching that on other. Black Box do it sometimes, and whenever I watch that, I quite like seeing that. Maybe it's just me, but I like to visualize it and just see. Okay, they think it's 1-1, they think it's 2-1, I think it's this.
Okay, well, I tell you what, we'll see what the chat say. Whether it's something that I should bother to make more effort for, and that sort of thing, and start our predictions. Yeah,
we don't necessarily need a league or anything yet, actually keeping track of it. But I just
here we go. You just want to.
No. Honestly, I don't. I'm just saying. I meant more just in terms of like how we see the games going, and it gives you to think about it a little bit. But
no, that's true. Yeah. I'll do that. For anyone who listens to Tifo, I'll just choose 1-1 every week, just to make sure I'm not too far away.
Yeah,
you'll know what I mean if you listen to it. But yeah. Cool. Okay. So let's just. Do you want to talk about your Arsenal dilemma now, or do you want to wait until your team?
I haven't so much got an Arsenal dilemma, so we'll talk about the team when we get there. But I suppose I still just do want to say that like Timber is still a hilarious standout. And again, it's no point in me saying this. This is for other people. I'm still in the kind of Gabriel camp, just about, I guess, because again, it's about the absolute knowns. But I will be shocked if and when he benches or rests Timber. And White's fit again, so people are just going, right, it's not an option because Ben White's fit, and I know he's fit. And Ben White did look very good the other night when he played in that whatever game it was that was less important or something. I don't know what he played. I can't remember. He did look very good. But Timber is an animal. He looks sensational at the moment. And I just think that I've said it loads of times, but I just think he like embodies everything that Arteta wants in a player. And he very nearly scored again. He all the chances fall to him. He, by the way, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's like 10, 11, 12. So he's like 12th or 13th in the Premier League for non-pen XGI.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, ridiculous. 2.2. He was the one who should have scored. By the way, that Gabriel goal pissed me off so royal. And I know that you loved it, but oh my God. But Timber, I mean, yeah, ridiculous. He's going to be ridiculous this season. Unfortunately, there hasn't been enough games yet to be like, how locked can we be on his minutes? But I am going to be surprised if he gets benched at any point, unless he's absolutely done in, because he's just too good. So yeah, that's all there is to say really about that. I think. I mean, do you want to talk at all about Saka or Eze? I mean, Eze, I guess we'll just talk about it quickly, because we didn't mention it. He, first of all, looks really good at the moment. He's surprising me. I thought he'd struggle to fit in a little bit in terms of his position. Sometimes I always worry that he struggled a little bit with his confidence. I don't know. It seems to me like one of those guys who takes a while to get used to a team or feel good, but he just looks really confident straight away, which has surprised me a little bit. And he looks really good, and he does look like he's managed to find a role for himself, and he's getting key. He just looks like he's getting key passes and getting shots and scoring goals. But as ever, it's still just it's not enough for me to want to pick him. I can't really understand people who are saying, "Oh, I might go to Eze this week over." I mean, I get it; he's a good pick, but you're on mute, by the way. You know, when we talked about all those midfielders that are so talismanic, and like Gordon or Sarr, or that are similar prices or cheaper, all those guys that we mentioned, anyone you can think of, Semenyo. Why would you pick Eze? Eze has to do so much to be a pick over those guys, because he could still get rested at any moment, and he's not. I don't expect him to get 90 minutes very often. So why go there? I can't really see it. I don't understand.
Well, as you said earlier on, I mean, Gordon's the same price. It'd be very hard to justify that, wouldn't it? For what it's worth, by the way, I know it's a European game. I don't know who they're playing, but
okay. Yeah, who are they playing? That's interesting, because kind of hilarious, but it is a European game. I don't know what the fixture is, but can't remember now. I do know. We'll see. We'll see if and when he's been. And that's why, again, though, that's why we don't know, and that's why I plan to buy Gabriel. I'm not buying Timber. I just think it's really interesting because he looks sensational and his numbers are ridiculous.
Just going on to one or two of the other fixtures, actually, because actually some of these really play into a few dilemmas I have this week, because it's okay. So if everything is right, I could bench boost, and we'll come to that a bit later on. And everything is wrong, then I have to decide I have to play someone awful on the bench that will give me nightmares, probably. For example, if I was putting, I would have to potentially bench Njai or Pedro if I want to play Minte, and I think I do. So that's going to be a really difficult one if I can't bench boost because of Romero. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, do you have any thoughts about the prospect of those? I didn't realize Everton numbers were going to be quite so low. But obviously Palace.
Minte and Njai or who? Sorry,
Pedro. Or Reinders, I suppose, as well. I mean, Brentford away. This is only if I can't bench boost, by the way, but we'll come to that later. But
so, I mean, it's really tough. So, because I'm sure, just like everyone, when I approach these things, I kind of like start with which pieces can I knock off and get out of the decision. And my gut reaction there is, in terms of a piece to knock off and get out of the decision, is I would definitely play Minte.
I mean, as you can imagine, part of the reason for bringing him in was just to get the bench boost out of the way straight away and play him away at Wolves. It looked like a really good option. So,
and I would definitely play Reinders. Just looking at him, just reminding myself of what the fixture is, and just he's too good. He's too dangerous.
I have to say, I was surprised the other night just watching how much of a winger Njai was playing. He was crossing from wide. I was quite surprised. I mean, not saying that he won't. I mean, Nuno defending deep, etc. A lot of men crowding the area. Maybe it's not that surprising, but he was in a sense a right-sided Grealish for a while. When I was watching bits of it. So
yeah, it is difficult with Njai because it's not that fun to watch him in terms of when you own him in FPL, because he's such a good footballer. He does everything. He works like I've said it all the time, his tackling, his working back is amazing. He's genuinely one of the best. I think he's one of the best tacklers in the league. I mean, honestly, his tackling ability is astonishingly good. So he is a bit of a moments player. Like, he does everything. So then he's never goal hanging. He's never just trying to get goals. He just does goals. He'll do that if it's the most efficient sort of thing to do. I think he'll keep getting better. But I know what you mean. It can be quite frustrating. So we can go a whole game and you're like, damn, man, I've seen him do loads of tackles and play really well and make some passes and stuff, but I haven't really seen him shoot much. And he doesn't shoot much. He's not high. He's not a volume shooter. So it is one of them. And he's playing Palace, who, well, they're going to Kiev, we said, tomorrow, didn't they? So it's
yeah, that's going to be a hard. I'm not looking forward to that decision.
It's really hard, that decision. That's really hard because it's I don't know.
Let's hope Romero's fit.
Yeah.
I also want to talk a bit about Manchester United and their prospects, because obviously some people will be considering alternative captaincy with Arsenal and Manchester United. Any thoughts on how good of a fixture that is now, and whether you would consider? I'm assuming your awkward phrase, etc., but your provisional captain might have been Haaland, because of course, why would you, the form and everything like this. But what are your immediate thoughts with captaincy options? Would you be considering looking elsewhere? Because Brentford away is hardly a definite fixture, is it, to back a captain?
Sorry, I'm just getting distracted by the João Pedro thing. Somebody saying that they said it's a minor physical issue, so it's obviously just better not be. So he's got, actually it's relevant because he's got to play Liverpool first. I don't know. Flapjack's just posted João Pedro has a quote saying João Pedro has a minor muscle physical issue. He's not 100%. We preferred that he recover calmly during this FIFA window to return to his best level. It's a physical issue. So obviously all that's fine and it's probably nonsense, but he does have to play Liverpool first.
Yeah, but I think immediately that makes you think that this is a sort of pre-planned couple of weeks break for him, and that helped him out. But the chances of him not starting against Liverpool are very slim, I would have thought.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I agree. It's funny, isn't it, that you sort of I've never really seen those two things together, because you get these nonsense international break injuries, but it usually means you at least have to, not play the week before, or or I don't know, come off early sort of thing. So it's a bit weird if he just starts and plays the whole game and then it's like, but he is struggling, so he's not going. Bit strange, but I'm sure it's fine. I'm captaining Haaland. It's still a good fixture for United, and look, there's the numbers. Think of it what you want. Most people will just be like, "No, United are terrible. Sunderland are good." That's not really true. Sunderland have had very good fixtures. They're fine. They're a decent team. You just can't go there for captaincy because it's all too shaky at United, isn't it, at the moment? And you don't know if we're just going to completely combust and it's going to be like, this is the game that gets fired because we just completely... I mean, if we lose that game or draw it, I don't think they can hold on till November for the sake of 6 million quid or 8 million quid, whatever it is. So you can't... I don't massively begrudge anyone. Anyone who's going there is just completely objectively just like, I'll go there for the kind of free risk. And, I think last time I looked at FPL review, it was about this. It was like the same as Haaland, but I think that'll probably change. That will change over the week, and it will certainly change if his projected pen share goes down, which it probably will, although I think he'll be on penalties. So, and then there's, to be honest, I've got the vice on Gyökeres at the moment. But... I wouldn't be captaining a United player.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. I haven't even actually checked Vice, but you're probably right. Worth checking that. It's the... Actually, I was just a quick note on Sunderland, because obviously, impressive clean sheet away at Forest and all the rest of it. But very harsh on those who have gone for the other 4 million guy. I'm trying to remember his name. This is the problem. When you wildcard, you care so much about 4 million players. And now I've immediately...
Mukiele, is it?
Mukiele, yeah. Because obviously Alderete gets his 17 points, and I'm pretty sure Mukiele has picked up a minor injury as well. It's like one of those ridiculous kind of... Because FPL Fraser, our good friend, he picked him. So
Oh, right. Okay. I was going to say
And
Spencer.
him and Dewsbury Hall, and he was going to play a bench boost. And he's got Dewsbury Hall and Mukiele.
Nice. Don't we like? I mean, sure, Spencer knows so, but I see people saying like, we don't actually know who's nailed there as well, though. Anyway, when Thingy comes back, because what's the guy who's got the guy who got the 17-pointer on game week 1? That I've forgotten his name now.
Ballard, big
Ballard. Yeah. Don't we actually? I don't know. But I mean, I still like Rodon and Goodmanson, to be honest. I still think. I think Sunderland have I have to take back what I said about Sunderland. Obviously, they've been better than I thought they'd be, but they signed a good few players and stuff. But I still look at Leeds and think with Sunderland, I see a sort of almost like it's a little bit unpredictable. They're just like they've been like a decent team, and it's not about necessarily the ground or the home ground or what. It's just they've been a good team. I don't even know how to explain it. Whereas with Leeds, their home ground still feels like a bit of a fortress. I mean, it always has been because they've got massive fan base and really good, really sort of good crowd and loud crowd, and they look like they really sort of get stuck in and they can sort of grind it out a bit. And so I just sort of I'd rather have something that I know what that is, So when you've got Leeds and you're when you want to play them and stuff. Whereas when am I gonna want? I mean, it's fine to have them there. Don't get me wrong with these Sunderland guys and have them on the bench and hopefully they're good for DEFCON. But do you know what I mean? I don't really know when I'd want to play them or what I'm going to do unless you're Alon's team who's just got the load of 4.0, so you have to play one of them.
Yeah.
So I'm still a bit like, yeah. I mean, I've got my Leeds guys. I think they've got West Ham at home in like game week 10 or something like that, where it looks pretty decent. Where it's like, if I need to play them there, that's pretty cool because, yeah. I mean, even this weekend against Spurs, you expect to maybe be a bit tired. And they haven't been fantastic the last game or two, and they're at home to Leeds on Saturday morning, 12:30. It's a Friday night game deadline, this week. I didn't even know that until this morning.
Is it?
Yeah,
I had no idea. Okay. Yeah. Oh Christ. Okay, that's really annoying from the bench boost point of view.
It's Bournemouth on Friday night.
Oh, of course it is. Bloody hell! It's right in front of me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bournemouth, by the way, again, that's an awkward one because on bench boost. I will. I mean, I'll just come to it in a minute, but it would involve Anderson, Rodon, and an attacker, and Dubravka, and actually, a lot of those numbers don't look as good as I thought they might be. I suppose they were never going to be that good, were they? But
no, they were never going to be that good. But I said to you, I quite like it for a lot of people this week. Actually, a lot of people are looking at game week 7 or 8, and I think given the international break, most of the ones that I've seen, I've felt like it's game week 7 for me.
Yeah. Do you know what? Maybe, if you don't mind, I think it might be a good time to look at teams, and then we can always skip back and around if there is anything. I don't know if there is. We've still got, by the way, other slides, etc. If we want to refer to them. But,
I mean,
the only thing that jumped out of me here, by the way, very quickly, is just. Okay, I didn't show this table last week, but I think from memory, Brighton were 3rd for open play XG, and Manchester United were obviously top or thereabouts as well. So, and Brighton come up 5th for predicted goals.
Well, this is it.
6th
this is
as well. So that's.
I'm just getting that up so I can see it myself because I know people probably in the chat can't see it.
Sorry, zoom in if you're on video.
It's Elevenify again, by the way. Shout out to Elevenify, and anyone in our chat doesn't know him or follow him. Brilliant guy, nice guy, great manager, and does his own model, which I think he's not been doing it for long, but it was basically his model was more effective than kind of the bookies or whatever last season in terms of predictions, and he does team strength stuff and he's just great stuff. But I just think I really like some of these ones in terms of just this is projected goals, isn't it, that you've got up over the next over the next like 6 weeks. Based on his model, and I just think it's a really nice reminder sometimes to capture certain stuff. I mean, you've said already Brighton the 5th, so that's massive. In terms of that's massive, isn't it? The other one on here though is Chelsea still. It's a reminder. So, kind of objectively, despite injuries and problems, Chelsea are projected to score the 3rd most goals in the Premier League on Elevenify's model, and probably similar for bookies because it's not like it's much different, by the way, to markets. It's pretty close. Over the next 6 weeks, so you were talking about Pedro. It's pretty significant, isn't it? Because the fixtures are great. Who else? Newcastle 6th, United 7th, Man United 7th. Again, I'm thinking about Fernandes and Boomer. So yeah, I just think, just thought we'd have it there just in case.
Yeah, and again, Everton pretty low. I don't know whether that could change.
Yeah,
but
Everton very low. Yeah, Everton very low, very low. Yeah, no, it's a good point.
Even this week, 1.18 is hardly that encouraging. So it's interesting to look at that as well. I think so we'll come back to that a bit. I'm quite keen to get your thoughts, as you know, on this kind of scenario that I've got going here. I'll read out the team in just a second. What's
that shocking cropping that you've done? I thought you like cared about how you cropped images.
It's a bit overcropped. But
you don't like player space. You don't want to look at you.
I've got a new phone, and as you know, it takes me about a year to work out any kind of new technology. So less of the back talk, young man, and let's just get on with it, shall we? A team: Raya in goal, Gabriel, Senesi, Romero, who is wasn't spotted in training and then didn't travel to Bodo Glimt, which is in Norway. Is a guess. Reinders, Semenyo, Njai, Fernandes, and Minte, Haaland captain, Gyökeres. I need to change my voice. Dubravka, Pedro, Anderson, and Rodon on the bench. So it's not an incredible bench by any means, but it's a serviceable one. And I thought, well, hopefully they were all going to play. Now, I'm just going to caveat this because I will put up as well in a minute the game week 9 alternative if everything is fine. But yeah, the Romero issue is probably the spanner in the works for me. And there's a little bit of me that thinks, well, if everything else was fine, would I just move him on, get the bench boost done? Because Romero is probably one of the more shaky spots in the team anyway. But of course, it's not something I wanted to do, obviously, because I thought it was worth a good gamble the next, certainly, initial period because of, Wolves, Leeds, Villa, Everton, nice fixtures. And he looks dangerous at set pieces, etc. They didn't look particularly good on can't remember what day they played, but yeah, the weekend. Any thoughts on that situation?
I just think I'm not worried about Spurs. I've seen enough of them.
No.
You're going to get this. It's not like a smooth. It's not a smooth transition going from being completely dog shit under Ange to a really good team. I just think he's done a really good job so far. You're going to get little sort of aberrations and whatever. It's like a lot of new stuff, isn't it? I still think they look really solid, and I just think that him as a manager is just so capable of getting clean sheets in any game. And he talked about it again at the weekend that he wasn't happy about that. He's still pumping into them this idea of defense and clean sheets, and they talked loads about clean sheet mentality. He keeps going back to it as like his fundamental. And they've got good players and a good defense, so I'm not worried. Sorry, I just got a message saying Gyökeres shot off the post and Martinelli taps in the rebound. But you're concerned that he's not fit. Is that if not got an update? Is it we're doing?
Yeah, no, it's not. I mean, if he's fit, then he stays, obviously. But it's just not spotted in training. Didn't travel, which apparently is unusual for the captain not to travel for Spurs. I don't know whether that's a new thing or just a Romero thing or what. But so that's the thing. And of course, Friday deadline. So it's whether there's enough doubt there or not. My instinct is probably if the comments are good, I can go ahead and use it this week. But if there's a doubt over Romero, then I'll probably just leave it entirely because there's just not, it's a bit of a gamble. And game week 9, which I'll just flash up on the screen, by the way, this is the alternative. I'd be interested to see what the chat's thoughts are on these two bench boost options. This is without any transfers, of course, but the one on the right is a little bit different. You've got, I hadn't decided who would be on that bench, but you've got Dubravka at Wolves, which is a little better, I suppose, than Villa. You've got Minte away at Man United, which is hard bench anyway. In fact, I don't know whether I would do that. Rodon at home to West Ham, which is not as good a fixture as it probably was going to be, and then Newcastle away for Anderson. So they're pretty similar. It's just what I meant. 7, 8, 9. They're all kind of the same. In terms of fixture strength, they're pretty similar. So
yeah, hold that there a second. Baker just said proper power run from Gyökeres for that goal. So apparently Gyökeres is already doing business with it, and Haaland scored as well.
Nice.
Yeah, I can see your dilemma here, and it's probably similar for a lot of people. And I don't know, I guess my gut reaction here is maybe the ceiling looks better in game week 9. I mean, the caveat is always like you've got to get there, and you've got to have all your players.
I know.
You've got to have transfers. Have you got any transfers, by the way? Because you wildcarded last week.
Got 2. Yeah.
Right, so you've already got 2, right? And you don't need to make one this week, so you're gonna have 3 next week.
Yeah.
So that's really nice in terms of I'm gonna have 1 next week, which is worrying. And the downside of of my kind of situation, thinking about those sort of midfielders. So that's really good because I don't know, it feels a little bit like I like it this week. So first of all, you need to know about Romero, because if Romero's not here, it's not confirmed fine, or we've not seen him in training, then you just can't do it. It does feel a little bit like bad timing for a few there. So you've got João Pedro, who's probably really good, probably fine, whatever. But maybe he does have a bit of a physical issue. Maybe he's going to come off early, or maybe something happens. Obviously, it's not ideal timing with Dubravka, because Villa have finally got a win, and they won 3-1, and they look good, and you expect them to sort of follow that up against Burnley. And then Anderson has got Bournemouth on Friday night. It's not like it's an early game. Like Friday night under the lights is not. I never really like that.
True.
I mean, I know it's DEFCON and stuff like that, but I don't. Whereas you might think, oh, you never know, so a bit of an outside chance of a clean. Friday night, I can't see it really. It's going to be very difficult. Whereas Rodon's pretty good timing wise, because I do think it's probably it's a decent time to play Spurs at the moment after playing in Europe. But then the following one, as you say, Wolves away is a better fixture, but Wolves look much better at the moment. So I'm not, but it's a much better fixture. And the other 2. So I don't know. My gut reaction there is probably game week 9.
Yeah. Well, no, that's it's. I think it will depend on Romero. Forces the issue, doesn't it? Actually, if anything, it made me think maybe play Rodon over Anderson. But for what it's worth, by the way, Bournemouth are one of the good teams to get DEFCONs against. I know that much. So Anderson will be more or less guaranteed a return.
Is that all season last season as well? Is that really kind of stylistic?
Good question. I don't know. I read it somewhere.
They do press. They do press very high. Maybe that's true, but I don't generally pay attention to the idea.
I think the main reason why I was tempted to do it this week is, as you know, you get around to game week 9, and let's say for the sake of argument, you want to do something that enables Palmer in, and it requires taking a striker right down or something like that. Then it's you want the option, don't you, of having not a dead spot, but something approaching it. And I have to drag 15 players into the far distance, and I want to eventually. Yeah, that's the main reason. So I think
sorry, Rich, I didn't mean to. I think it's a really important point, and it does bring me back to again. It's getting 15 decent players out. Full stop is huge for a bench boost, and getting rid of a bench boost also does carry value.
Yep.
And I can imagine, you've thought about this more than me, just sort of looking at it and thinking, being hopeful and optimistic. And getting rid of the bench boost is huge, because you as you say, you'd have to reasonably bet on, let's say, 1 transfer being needed to get that bench boost out in 9. That's maybe separate from the transfers you would otherwise make. I think it'd be reasonable to suggest that maybe you would need 1 transfer, and that's 4 points. Yeah. That's 4 points. It doesn't matter how many frees you've got; it's 4 points. Yeah. Unless you've got an absolutely magical 15 and you've got 5 transfers, I would still view it as 4 points, basically. So
I think where I sit going into this week, more or less, is if Thomas Frank said, "Yeah, Romero's absolutely fine; just needed a little bit of a rest, but he's going to start." I'll probably just use it, but if there's any doubt over him and Pedro, which they probably will be. I'll probably just hold it back. I think the thing that scares me most about Game Week 9 is the idea of, I don't know who I'd bench actually, to be honest with you. There's a sort of three-way debate there as well, but you know, I don't know. Minte doesn't feel like. I mean, now I've given myself this problem of night, to be fair, so I'm not going to grumble about it. But if you're listening late and you're not joining us on stream, by the way, feel free to keep commenting on this. I am interested in a bit more opinion on this. But
yeah, we're nearly 2 hours in and we didn't do any like or does like or subscribe, smash that.
No, I did one. Yeah, I
sorry,
did one. But let's do it again. Like and subscribe, y'all. That wasn't very me, was it? Sorry. But okay, thank you very much. Please do all that. And let's go to Danny's team.
I was just looking at Chelsea, by the way. I was just thinking about Pedro as well. So that's Saturday night. Yeah, you got to think Chelsea are going to be up for it, wouldn't you? Against Liverpool with no Alisson.
It's not making life any easier for me.
No, but I'm saying, you know, if you're going to bench boost, it feels a bit better, doesn't it? If you've got Pedro.
Yeah. Yeah, because actually, you know, I won't bang on about it, but I'm just also thinking of the kind of players that I would likely bring in a bit later on down the line. And a lot of them don't have a good fixture game week 9 as well. So take Sarr, for example. He's got Arsenal away, I think, isn't he? So it's yeah, a lot of things like that. So this is you. Do you want me to read it out, or do you want to do it?
Yeah, I'll do it. So I've got Raya in goal, Senesi, Lacroix, and Van Dijk. At the back, Fernandes, and Jai, Semenyo, Reinders, Gyökeres, João Pedro, Haaland captain at the moment, and then Anderson, Goodmanson, and Paqueta on the bench. So pretty straightforward for me. I'm going to bring in Gabriel this week. It's a bit of an annoyance, obviously, because, you know, I decided to sort of not start him on the wild card and go with Van Dijk because in terms of the cash spread on the wild card, my setup meant I wasn't going to get both, which I'm fine with. And it's ended up being like, you know, it couldn't really have gone much worse because, I mean, Van Dijk had very good fixtures for 3 of them, and obviously it's about 10 points down or something in a transfer, so it is what it is. But my decision really is, and some people in chat are not going to like probably some of the things that I say here, but is really just whether I sell Lacroix or Van Dijk. And prior to Alisson getting injured, I'd pretty much settled on selling Lacroix. So I need to think about it a bit more. And obviously, I'd like to know how long Alisson's out for. And I know most of the time I wouldn't be like one player is significant enough for me to change plans, but it was very, very close anyway. And I don't think there's any other team that it matters more for than Liverpool. You know, that the way they're set up is just they allow these one-on-ones because Alisson just takes care of them every single time. And it always feels completely different. And obviously, previously they had Kel Heller. I don't know much about this other guy who stands in. I've heard he's good, fine, but you've got to see it first in the Premier League. And you know, Kelleher was a great stand-in. So it's one of them. So you know, obviously the pros and cons. Selling Van Dijk for Gabriel obviously leaves me with more money, which is money is always good because you never know what's going to happen. And I've got 1.5 in the bank or something at the moment. So I'd keep roughly 1.5 in the bank or 1.4, something like that. And as I said to you, you know, let's say something happens to Bruno, for example, or we know he's not on penalties, for example, and then Palmer's back fully fit in 9. It's quite nice to be able to just do Fernandes to Palmer if I wanted to. Because then you keep Gyökeres for his good fixtures. So that's an unlikely scenario, but it's possible. And so it's always nice to have the options. And even that extra cash, maybe I want to upgrade a midfielder and maybe I do want to afford someone who's like the 7.5 bracket. It's just that the reason we're wanting to keep Van Dijk was obviously when it gets to about game week 12, his fixtures up until like January, February are amazing. I've said everything about him before. Like he mops up the DEFCON. He's top of the league for DEFCON in terms of total DEFCON this season.
Is it really?
For defenders, yeah. Yeah, he is. I'm pretty sure he is because he got like 19 or something, 18 against Bournemouth. And so in terms of total numbers of DEFCON, he's top as far as I know. Last time I checked. And, my sort of stance was, yeah, okay, they don't. I expect Liverpool to get better, to sort of organise themselves, and it's Liverpool. They're going to get clean sheets. They've got Van Dijk and Alisson. It happens, and I've said that about Defcon and the points that Alisson's got already this season, and they've had, this is again, Liverpool are so difficult to figure out, but they've had tough fixtures. They've played Bournemouth, Newcastle away, Arsenal, Palace away. They played Everton, which is a derby for them, which was a tough game. They got a good attack. They've had really, they've had a tough set of fixtures in terms of a defence. And Van Dijk has still come away with 3-3, 8-8, 4-2. He's still done okay. So I don't know. You know what it's like. It feels nice to be able to have Van Dijk and say Gabriel and Senesi and Anderson just leave it there for like 20 weeks.
Yeah.
And I know Palace are great, and if Palace weren't in Europe, it would be less of a discussion, because I do think that is an impact. It's definitely an impact on them. The other thing is that I do think that Richards is just better value than Lacroix now at the moment. It's not definitely the case, but that's what it looks like so far. I mean, the other week was pretty frustrating as a Lacroix owner when he got like 5 Defcon and Richards got 17. I know it's just one game, but it's like he's 4.5. And yeah, they've got some difficult fixtures coming up Lacroix. So that was my decision really, and now I'm not sure, and I might now sell. I need to think about it, but I might sell Van Dijk instead and keep Miller. What are you thinking?
No, it's a very hard decision actually. I hadn't quite appreciated the situation, but I think you leaving that route open to be able to make a big role transfer is quite persuasive, really. And you can, I know that this doesn't look or feel good, but you can always reverse Gabriel, can't you? I mean, I know it's not ideal, but it is something that you can do at least.
Yeah, I just don't want to think like that. It's just not gonna. It's not.
No, of course.
I'm finding it really quite tough.
It's a similar level awkward decision to the one I've got, actually, isn't it? I hadn't appreciated it, but.
It's just like, what are Liverpool going to do as well? I suppose we just touch on it very quickly, because I heard The Wire and LR talking about it, and he talked about what Jamie Carragher said about because basically Carragher said he thinks that Vert should be dropped for a bit.
Yeah.
And LR was saying that that's just kind of for headlines and sensationalism and stuff. And I'm not sure I agree, to be honest. I get that he's a Liverpool fan and he can be a bit reactionary, but I can see what he's saying. I can see the logic that, like, at the moment, Liverpool are all over the place. They're trying to make so many different things work, and they are a bit all over the shop, aren't they? And I think Carragher's just saying, like, how do we stabilize it for a bit? The Premier League champions, they won the league last season with simple stuff, and maybe just take him out of the limelight for a bit. I mean, Verts is a brilliant player, and he's going to be there for ages, and he will be a great player for them, but. I can see what he's saying. They need to kind of just steady the ship a bit. I mean, like what is going on at Liverpool at the moment? And it's just a problem, isn't it? I mean, they had that younger centre back. I can't remember his name, but I saw that he got a really bad injury a few weeks ago, and he was like their only backup to Konate. So it all just feels a bit like, geez, like they were trying to sign Gueye anyway, and you can see why, because he's absolutely brilliant. And you can imagine if they had Gueye, how much better they would be. To just have that really solid centre-back alongside Van Dijk that can't be targeted. Whereas at the moment, there's like a clear, target Konate who's not going to help him as well, his individual confidence and stuff. And, who plays right back and he can't decide. And Szoboszlai is basically their best right back. He's like their best 6 and their best 10 at the moment in terms of his performances. And I think he needs to play right back, because nobody else. I mean, Bradley was. I didn't see Bradley the other day, but we came off at half-time. Apparently, it was atrocious. So it's difficult to, So that's why I can see people thinking, why the hell would you keep Van Dijk? And they've got some difficult fixtures coming up. But they're Premier League champions. You expect this to stabilise in some way. They've got to find some path, you would think, and then they've got really good fixtures. But it is a little bit worrying, and I don't, in terms of Liverpool and Slot. It's probably just his personality. It does make some strange. I mean, Praz said it on the wire as well already, but I was thinking the same thing, that he's just singling out players like pretty blatantly, isn't he? Which is a bit of a strange approach.
Yeah, Frimpong, I think, was one, wasn't it?
Yeah, Frimpong, and then obviously, Ekatike didn't hold back. It was stupid what he did, but I mean, there's none of this, like, there's no even attempt to be like, sort of say it. in a sort of guarded way and we'll deal with it afterwards. He's just blatantly ripping into individuals, which is a bit strange. So basically, yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because you've got Van Dijk, who's like this beast of a centre-back, brilliant for DEFCON, and he is in a very good team, and I expect them to still manage to get some clean sheets. But you've got chaos, and now you take Alisson out of it, and I don't know how long he's out for. And I didn't even see the game. I didn't even see the injury. So I'm really struggling with that decision because it's really quite... It seems like nothing, but to me, it's really pivotal because when I make a defender's transfer, I do it so rarely. I don't want to go back there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
I feel like I'm making a transfer that's literally, I'm choosing my defense essentially is the way to see it until February. Is what it feels like. So it's really quite significant.
Oh God, yeah, it's really nasty.
It is, and there's also, which I need to get rid of, but there is that slight emotional appeal whereby no one on wildcard 6 or wildcard 7 and probably wildcard 8 is going to have Van Dijk. No one's going to own him.
No, yeah,
only wildcarders 4 that are going to have him. And now again, that shouldn't really come into my thinking. I need to rid that from my process. But in the game at the moment where there's so few differences, I'm looking at like Paqueta. I look at my team and all I see is Paqueta and Van Dijk. That's all I see.
I think, I mean, Lacroix is a relative.
And Lacroix, I guess maybe I should, but other people have got Richards, and it's like, but it's right. But a lot of wildcard 6s don't have any Palace as well, do they? No. So,
for what it's worth, by the way, if Romero was out, I'd be buying Richards this week probably, and then I'd bench boost. So I don't know if that helps, but I mean that's another thing as well. What's the difference there? It's 0.6, isn't
it? Probably. I think Lacroix is 5.1. So if Richards hasn't gone up, then 0.6. Yeah.
Oh.
And I mean, I'm also probably slightly underrating Lacroix because people talk. I've not really.
Great, yeah.
People talk about his goal threat, and he did hit the bar. I think I don't know what his numbers are like, but it's like, I don't know, 0.1 non-pen XGR. So it's not like massive or anything, but people say that he's a good goal threat, and I've seen a bit of that. I've also seen him spraying passes a little bit, quarterback style. So I don't know. Maybe I'm slightly underrating Lacroix just from what we've seen so far. I just find it really hard to read because again, we've got the Palace thing where I think Europe is a bit of an issue for them, and I just don't know what that's going to look like. Him playing twice a week, every single week.
You're right on the goal threat. It should be said, by the way, that Richards, I know there's a bit of a debate here, but he kind of made the mistake that led to the goal as well. I know that's a very minor thing, but he didn't clear the ball properly and all the rest of it. There are one or two people who still say, he might miss game week 8 because he's back from America, blah blah blah. I don't think so, but
right. He's also fake tall. What his afro gives him a good 3 inches, so you can't be far.
Yeah. Actually, that's an interesting point. I am going to have to work out or find out how tall the Crystal Palace centre backs are.
He gets his haircut and suddenly he's 5'8". You're not going to buy him, are you?
No, it's an important part. So Maxence Lacroix is 1.9 meters tall. Chris Richards is 2 centimeters shorter. This can't be true, by the way. Mark Gahey's 1.82 meters. That's not even 6 foot, is it?
I don't think so. Doesn't sound right, does it?
That can't be right.
I don't believe some of these. I don't believe some of Wikipedia. I think some people are just guessing.
6 foot, they reckon. Okay, right. Well, anyway, but yeah. So Lacroix is taller, so that is an important factor, in your decision. If you had to choose right now, no, don't worry. I don't want to be hot takes guy.
I've never been more torn. I genuinely don't even know if I could answer that question. I'm really not sure.
We should do a sort of strangers on a train. I could pick your decision and you could tell me who to bench out of Njai, Pedro and Reinders.
Yeah, we've both got really hard decisions actually, haven't we?
Yeah, it's actually surprising. That's why I'm annoyed.
I'm
annoyed that it's Friday night, because I didn't think I was going to have to make that decision until my sweaty Saturday mornings. But
I'm out on Friday night as well.
Ooh,
we're actually going to your favourite place. We're actually going to the theatre.
Oh, hello, good.
I know. I don't even know what it's some Agatha Christie thing. I don't know what it is, but
yeah,
like a nice place to go. So I thought I'd just go out and go there. But yeah, I didn't realize it was Friday night kickoff as well. So I might have just cancel the whole thing and then pretend it's not FPL. No, I'm not joking. I won't really. But yeah, it's not ideal.
there we go. That's so tempting to make many Agatha Christie references, but I will try and hold back as best I can from that potential rabbit hole.
Did we have anything? Did we have anything in the chat that we should see? Or that
yeah, let's go away from this screen. There are a few. I'm just going to actually take on, make it sound like it's I'm going to take them on. When people say about could bench boost and say for the free AFCON transfers, and then a few people saying, "Oh, why not? Why rush it? You know, just wait till there's a bigger dilemma." Broadly, I disagree with you. If I'm honest with you, I really do want. You know, I specifically chose a squad where I thought I could play it in any set of 7, 8, 9, so that I can give myself an easy route out. But it's so that I have the flexibility as soon as possible to get rid of one spot in my team. You know. Not saying it has to be Mark Gui or whatever his name is, but I can see it happening where I just want to do that. AFCON, I think there's such a temptation that there'll be with 5 free transfers to spread the money around, but then of course you have to run back from it. So I don't know. I'm not sold on it yet, but you know, I know a lot of people are looking at that period of time.
It's going to, you know, I think the success of wildcard, whenever it was that I did mine, wildcard 5. Is going to change people's plans. It's going to push people back to, you know, because they want to get higher scores instead of thinking a bit more rationally, in my opinion. And, you know, I think generally most people, not everyone's, but generally people, I think, underestimate how difficult it is to get 15 players out.
Yeah.
And I think generally people are overly optimistic about what they're going to get out of the bench boost. And I think generally people underestimate how harmful / annoying it is to make transfers around a bench boost and to still have the bench boost there. And actually there's actual value in no longer having it. It almost is almost the way to view it. And instead of thinking about like the points that we got on the previous one, you know, before that week, we were kind of saying, or I was saying that the general consensus was kind of, if you get like 8 to 12 points, it's a success. And I think that's still the case, really. It's fine. It's just not a great chip. It's just, you know, yep, some people will hold out and pick a week and will hit a big score, and they will be in the massive minority, I would have thought. So it's fine if you want to take a bet that you know, maybe less likely to win. So
I've been through the chat and sort of selected just a small handful of questions, and then we'll wrap up for the evening, and you can prepare for the theatre or whatever it is that you're up to. But let's start with, I was about to say Jerry Rafferty, wasn't he the guy? I'm trying to think of a musical reference here, but it's Gary Rafferty, so it doesn't matter. But Jerry Rafferty,
I don't know who that is, right? Sorry, my bad.
That saxophone song back in the. Anyway, someone will know what I'm talking about.
Right, some jazz wank.
No, not jazz, more like pop jazz. I mean, like, for example, I don't agree with vocal jazz, so we don't even need to go down this. You know, I just fundamentally, it's not a good idea. But anyway, bench one this week: Tarkowski, Porro, or Munoz. I've still got old brain here. I'm like, you can't ever bench Munoz, can you? But
I definitely wouldn't
instinctively.
Yeah. But yeah, I think so. I definitely wouldn't bench Tarkowski because I think Palace could be tired, and it's not like they've got a barnstorming attack anyway, really, and Defcon and stuff. So I definitely wouldn't bench Tarkowski.
Would Yol do Verts to Cunha? Where have you been, Elias? This feels like a question from about a month ago. Verts to Cunha for your only free transfer if you're on wildcard 7. Oh, you want to take a... I'm trying to work out whether he's taking a pre-wildcard punt there or post or whatever. But...
Yeah, I mean, I generally wouldn't. I'd just generally roll and save the transfer. But Verts could not play, so I'm wondering. My first question would be like, if you were to bench Verts, who would you be playing if you've got someone good on your bench? But it is fun. I don't want to be boring like Cunha and Boomer. I mean, I'd probably I mean, Cunha's fun. I'd probably favour Boomer, but then again, maybe Cunha goes off. So it's a bit of fun in it. I can't say no in this boring time of FPL. If you want to go for
I would. I'm going to say hedge here, and then go for Gordon, and then you might have. Then he's either a, you keep him if you don't wildcard and whatever. I don't actually know your team, but
I like that shot. I like that shot.
Yeah,
he's also more likely to price rise.
Yeah, good point as well. Danny, thoughts on Mbuemo on penalties?
Yeah, I've talked about it before. Easy. I don't think he will be, but it's possible. You could maybe give him 10-20% chance. I just Bruno's not going to stand on the sidelines with his head down and his hands, and his tail between his legs and all upset. And I've lost my penalties. I missed 2 and I've got to watch someone else. This guy's the main man. This guy's like literally Manchester United is Bruno Fernandes. He's the captain, and like I just can't see it. And as I say, he's got a better record than anyone else for a longer period of time. So I can't see it. It's possible, but I can't see it.
No more questions, but I have to thank a couple of people in the chat. Jerry Rafferty, Baker Street, thank you very much. Now, Danny doesn't know what you'll know it when you hear it. I'm not going to try and do an impression of it, but I think
I do remember it. It rings a bell.
Anyway, go away, listen to it, and enjoy. I don't know when that was. It feels could be 70s or 80s, not sure. But anyway, showing my age. Cool. Baker Street. I mean, Baker must be aware of that from above average. He must put that on his old vinyl player every now and again, just for a bit of a Baker reference.
Yeah, with a little glass of whiskey.
Yes, never say. Actually, no, I'm not going to sponsor someone else's. And if someone wants to give us any money, get on with it. Still haven't had any offers for alcohol anyway. But what can we do?
Well, I'm 3.5 weeks now without a drink, so feeling pretty fresh. I said I was going to do it.
I cheated this evening as well with the. Actually, it was kind of a supermarket low alcohol.
Oh, what the hell is that? Right, I was wondering how you're still awake. Normally you're yawning.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, it's pure sugar, really. But but I had a jab earlier, so I didn't want to take any risks. But yeah, no, well done, Danny. I have to say, your clean living is an inspiration to us all.
Thanks, man. No, it's worth saying because sort of gone through phases in my life of drinking too much, and people often share it on Twitter when they do something similar, and sort of I find it quite inspirational when I see other people do it. So that's why I'm saying it, not to be a twat. It's just like I'm sure some people think. But you feel great, man. I feel so much better, and work is so much easier. So
no, that's good.
I've lost like half a stone in 3 weeks, which is ridiculous. Just like it must just be all just like water and God knows what.
I was tempted to make a pun there because obviously after we've talked about Arsenal defenders, you've lost a lot of timber. Sorry, apologies to the chat and anyone still listening after this time. But no, genuinely, that's really good news. And it's easy, isn't it, for us to, especially on football things, FPL, man chat, etc. Everyone to be like, oh yeah, I'm just downing as many kind of lagers as possible. There is a balanced approach to all things, so I think that's a good there. And you can savor just the tasty stuff now, so that's good approach. Brilliant. Anyway, that's probably enough from us this evening. Thank you very much for joining us as usual, and liking and subscribing and all the things that you do to make us feel very good about ourselves. It's very kind of you. I hope you enjoy your weekend. If you have any thoughts about Danny and I's horrible dilemmas before the Friday deadline, which is feeling closer than it was, do let us know in the chat as well.
Definitely.
Anyway, have a good one. We'll see you soon.
Nice one. See you later.